It's quite simple to say that this championship has been run in Wayne's world. 4 wins from the first 6 runs. But if Wayne's form is in fact waning, then it's Jordan Ross's racing who is going to be putting himself up in the championship picture. Well into the second half of the season now. Round 7 brings the Sunset 300 here from a beautiful Sebring International Raceway. It's February. You know that Sebring has to be put on the calendar at some point as far as racing action goes. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're watching around the world here for season 26 of the RaceKraft V8 Veterans Championship. My name's Jake Sperry. Reese Gardner is alongside with me for today's action. Dan Yeaman in production truck duties for today's action. But Reese, as far as today goes, this is about 2 Titans at the top of the standings who are going at it time and time again. It is a lock for them at the moment, but they know these final 4 rounds of the championship set themselves up as huge bonus boons if they can get it sorted. This the longest race of the calendar tonight.
Absolutely. It's great to be here, and with such an interesting title fight continuing to brew here. As you mentioned, Wayne Walker, the championship leader at the moment, winning 4 races on the trot here, but Jordan Ross finally fighting back last round at Silverstone, now has 2 wins to Walker's 4. Question is, will Wayne win or will Ross get him back here? That is the question, and what a place to do it. Such an incredibly bumpy circuit here at Sebring. The championship standings then, a 91-point lead that Wayne Walker currently has here, and we will be counting drop rounds from this point on, so it's all about maximizing your points from here.
Yes, and so needing to find all of those abilities to jump up and down are critical, and you can see Simon Haynes, the biggest shaker, so to speak, down 9 with a non-start last time out. Scott Gamble down 8 with I believe, a non-start as well there in the number 543. So that's what happens when you got 0 drop rounds available. It looks like a very sold battle out there at this point, but let's bring a drop round of the 2 in, and it shows a slightly different picture. Wayne's margin not as big as what it was, just 18 championship points. The difference out there with Scott Gamble still in 3rd out there with the drop then used, and you'll see drivers like Justin McLean, for example, all the way up to 5th, Reese.
Yeah, and he is now the biggest mover in the championship with 1 drop counted there. That's an incredible run up, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do to try and extend that advantage, maybe bring things a little closer to the top 4. But yeah, Wayne Walker and Jordan Ross, it's incredibly tight between them, and whoever finishes on top in this round will be carrying that momentum to the end of the season.
Yeah, and that momentum, I think, is going to be critical as far as we look here in this. So let's set ourselves up steady and take a look at where we are. We move to the panhandle of America here down in Florida. A little look over the bayou at New Orleans, Louisiana. You can see Pensacola, Tallahassee, Jacksonville, Daytona, Orlando, right in the middle there of this circuit of Florida is the circuit of Sebring, and a circuit that formed as part of an old World War II air base that got itself ready. Now, if I had a dime for every World War II air base that turned into a racetrack, I'd have 2 dimes, which isn't much, but it's funny how it's happened twice, Reese.
Yeah, indeed. And there's a few more besides that in the UK, aside from Silverstone. But Sebring, the former location of US Army Airfield Hendricks, and it's been hosting racing since 1950, but on a very different layout to the one we currently run. The last apex of Sunset Bend, turn 17, is pretty much the only part of this track that is still left over from the original layout. The rest of it is snaked and wound its way through the former access roads and runways over the course of 70 years now. Obviously most famous for hosting the 12 Hours of Sebring every year, but it's quite a popular track when it comes to supercar racing on iRacing.
It is a very popular circuit, and it's because it offers great overtaking ability out there where you just have to place the car at the right place at the right time. A wonderful circuit that brings itself together as it sorts itself out. Your days running here of your V8 Veterans Championship, brought to you, of course, by RaceKraft Simulations, Logitech, M1 Used Cars, Nova SimSport, Player One Sim Gear, LGC Images, SimSpeed, and Parramatta Isuzu Ute. But today, 300 kilometers. You've got to do at least 38 laps to be classified and get points. They have to start on this fixed setup with 80 liters, but they've got full refill capacity out there today. They must make 2 pit stops, and because this is a long race, you can get yourself home by about lap 22, lap 23, so just before halfway, which means they're going to be pretty loaded up today in terms of how they're going to burn, so we're not going to see too much big strategy changes out there, I'd feel, Reese.
No, but considering that critical lap, I think most drivers will be wanting to pit as late as they can for that final stop, because you and I both know very well, Sperry, these cars, the tires are nice and grippy out of the box, but after about 10-15 laps around most circuits, they lose their pace, and it's very easy to overheat them. So I think the drivers are going to be trying their best to keep the pace up while preserving those tires. Few different strategies here that drivers can take. You could potentially stop lap 2 at the earliest opportunity and stop there around lap 23. Alternatively, you could run all the way to lap 16, stop at lap 40 for a very short final stop, or split the difference and go lap 16 and 34 to make it a couple of nice even stints to the end of the race. It'll be an interesting question which drivers go for which strategy. We might even see some fall in between them.
We definitely might. So if they are thinking about where do I want to be, an issue on the opening laps will certainly help them make their mind up, but it's definitely not the end of the world. There is some pliability that can be found out there with how late we might see a second stop be found out there. So that should set up the perspective for everybody here as qualifying is just about to hit its final little burst as drivers head towards the line. Jordan Ross looks like he is on another level tonight compared to everybody else, nearly 3/10 clear of everybody else, and that will say to everyone as the checkered flag is about to fly here at Sebring for qualifying. As it does, he goes even quicker and has himself a 4/10 margin here at the front. So this is a statement of intent that we find out there in qualifying, and let's take a little look at how this will stack up then in qualifying trim here today. Jordan Ross will pilot the Synergy Sim Racing 143 on the pole position, and his good friend Sean McNamara will be alongside him on the front row. It's then Kenneth Latter in the 269 who will be lining up this one in third for Fishy, and phase 4, Paul Young in position 4 will be happy with the run. Wayne Walker will have to go from 5th position, maybe struggling a little bit at this circuit compared to others, as Dean Logsdale will be 6th. 7th and 8th will belong to Justin McLean and Troy Stonestreet for WK&P. Chris Burridge will line up 9th. Your top 10 rounded out by the 266 Sim Racing car of Luke Allman, piloting in the number 35, just to make numbers a little bit more difficult to work out who's who. Dan Hall and Jeff Thomas will be out there on row number 6. 13 will be the first New Zealander out there in Logan Barnett. Brad Doble for Shadow Racing in 14th. You've then got John Gallen and Jim Caparonis. They are 15th and 16th positions, with row 9 housing Wayne Sanderson and Michael Stewart there balling for the blade. There at this stage in the 9:19. There is Sean van der Meulen in 19th, with Travis Hunt rounding out the top 20. Tim Mulford is there in 21st, with Jason Spriggs there in 22nd position. On row 12, you will have Ray Smith for Infinity and Lorne Mackay for Accelerate Sim Racing, 1.5 seconds off the pace. Dean Flavell and David Nash there for 8:01 will be 25th and 26th, with Christian Smart and Jamie McKnight finding themselves then in row 14 of the grid. A lot of experience between those two drivers, as Chad Lewis and Matt Brunt will round out the top 30, nearly 2 seconds off the pace, and that will lead to one final row out there where you've got Simon Haynes and Greg Sharp, 32nd and 31st for WKMP. Alex Kiddis, I don't think, is going to take the start in the 107. So that will set the field as they go. But Reese, there's a lot of ways to score points out there over a course of run like this, including the easiest point in sim racing, which is putting your face up on the Zoom wall.
Absolutely. It's great, that initiative that the championship has, and we've got a full wall on the Zoom feed here. 16 drivers that are all finding their way to our feeds here. Allman, McLean, Ray Smith, Wayne Sanderson, your top row. Second row, Travis Hunt, Jeff Thomas, Dan Hall, Sean Van der Meulen, Simon Haynes, John Gallen, Stewie in the 919, and Sharpie on row number 3, and Wayne Walker, Christian Smart, Sean McNamara, and one final driver, Ken Ladder, there on the Zoom wall too. All these drivers getting extra championship points for showing their faces here on stream. We'll be checking in with them over the course of the night's racing. It's going to be a tough one. I think more than a few of these drivers will have some sweat on their brows by the time we get to the halfway point, perhaps earlier.
Tactical vest on by the looks of things for Simon Haynes there in the middle left out there at the moment. So he looks like he's very much in for a fight here today around this place, as drivers now look to set themselves in. You take a look at Wayne Sanderson having a look around his cockpit there in the virtual reality, looking to get himself up and ready, and you can see everybody is just looking to get themselves up and together with it. And they'll all look around as well and note that it's not just about being out there. It's a case of, say, for Justin McLean, you get a point for showing your feet. It doesn't matter if you've got much of yourself being shown out there, if it's your full face or if it's just your hands like Wayne Walker is. So long as you got the camera on and you can justify that it's you, you get the point.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're getting a good view of Justin McLean's footwork there. I believe he's doing some practice starts, showing us his footwork there. Plenty of drivers using VR in this league as well. Michael Stewart, third row, second from the right. Obviously one of the more iconic cams here, showing the greatest racing tracks in the world. A very popular graphic there. Greg Sharp also running in VR, as well as Wayne Sanderson up in the top right. But one thing that all these drivers have in common is they've got some pretty sick setups going.
That they do. So those setups, I think, are going to be critical in deciding how today is going to go, how much time, effort, dedication has been put in together. Checkered flag has just come out in the warm-up, so they will now soon hit the gridding up process. They've got 50 laps in order to sort themselves out, or 2 hours, 45 minutes. Get themselves sorted. We will also be talking about your driver of the day from 1 week ago, and the splits proved to be absolutely incredible in terms of their racing action. So keep an eye out on that then as we get ourselves set. And there is your M1 quality used car driver of the day. Last time out, it was Sean McNamara, hashtag bin the blade for balling out there. And that is something that we've been noting, that often we find drivers who come through the field have the ability to get driver of the day, but 8th to 3rd, it's not often that you get to see that in terms of only a gain of 5 as driver of the day, but it doesn't tell the story of how hectic a race it was last time out.
Yeah, indeed. It does take quite a bit of effort to run your way up in a field like this. So, yeah, the numbers don't tell the full story, do they?
No, they don't. And so you'll be seeing how that goes on in, as Sean will now have an easier start time with it on the front row, and we'll be looking to get this one set up nicely. They will all have a standing start for today's action, and so now they will know that as far as this championship goes, it's about the driver in 1st and 5th. That has been the story of this season. And of course, Sean McNamara missing the first 2 rounds of the championship, fighting from the back foot to try and get a strong championship effort sorted here in this one. So that is something to keep in note as they get themselves lined up along this front stretch. A little look at some scenic pictures that we had a little bit earlier on of the Mobile One footbridge that leads over to the circuit on track and over to the paddock. You can see through the various perspectives that they have lining up all the way around to Sunset Bend. There are so many cars out there today. Simon Haynes down there at the back, one of them who will be back there and looking to prove that pace is going to be found by jumping up forward. Remember that they've got to make those 2 stops. 300 kilometers worth of distance here, 50 laps worth of running. This is going to be a hard-fought battle for many who are out there trying to get what they need, and maybe strategy important. You can see as well over on the pit wall all of the different winners of the Sebring 12 hour there that are plastered across the various garages. There you can see at the start-finish line, it was Japan dominated in the early 90s before the Italians and then the German manufacturers got themselves exactly what was necessary here. But this is pure V8 veteran fighting out there today, and the run to turn 3 will be important. Turn 1 will be critical, but turn 3 even more so, and they will be heavy on the brakes and getting themselves set steady as they are now down to just 5 seconds before the light sequence will start. 32 degrees track temperature here today. A bit of wind coming in from the southwest, so it is going to be slightly blustery and difficult on the brakes, but engine notes now will start to rise. Let's get ourselves ready here. Round 7 of the V8 Vets Championship here from Sebring gets itself underway. A great start by McNamara, not so good from Kenneth Latter there in 3rd position, so he'll be under pressure as they head themselves over towards turn 1. They fan out 3, nearly 4 wide as they look to try and slot and find themselves a gap. Jordan Ross has got the clearance necessary, and a critical start at that as they all look to funnel on through. Walker trying to get up to 4th, can't get there on Paul Young. Clean start.
Yep, good to see. Looks like we do have some drivers falling down the order at the back of the field, but it doesn't look like anyone's dropping too far, which suggests to me, though there was some slight contact here and there, we will be seeing a little bit more of the hard, close racing that we expect from these cars. Down to the hairpin for the first time. That's a very early turn in there from Jordan Ross as McNamara chases him. Wayne Walker, our championship leader, still hasn't succeeded in getting past Paul Young. And this is a round where he needs to show that he has what it takes to carry his title momentum forward.
Yeah, it's everything that you need right now. Give yourself momentum, give yourself ability, and in 5th place, it's settle down, find a rhythm, and go and make it happen out there. There's still scraps in the mid-pack as they work along the top side of the circuit over to the tower turn, which is named, of course, after the control tower that was there to indicate that you are clear for takeoff, and they will head along the greatest named straight in all of motorsport, Reach, the Flying Fortress Straight.
Absolutely. This is a lovely bit of racetrack leading down to Gendebien, which is a very interesting S-bend that leads directly into Le Mans, where you're going to see drivers running very wide on entry to maximize the run onto the Ullman Straight, named for Alec Ullman, one of the founding fathers of Sebring, one of the guys instrumental in making this former airfield the brilliant racetrack that it is today. Sunset Bend is going to be a great overtaking opportunity, but for the moment, it seems like everyone's just still getting settled in. It appears the top 3 are breaking away slightly here at the end of lap 1.
That they are, and so with that ability to just run away and to build the margin fine and say, hey look, this is what I'm capable of doing at the front, they are wanting to make this race as easy as possible. A bit of side-by-side out there of Sunset Bend and along the main straight, so that one's setting itself up quite nicely. Look at that into turn 1, one of the Evolution Racing Team cars there in a scrap. Chad Lewis and Matt Brunt going at it together. Brunt just can't quite use that brunt to get through on Chad Lewis, who holds his ground very comfortably there through turn 3, just behind Travis Hunt and Lord Mackay. So this group right now, understanding that the more they scrap, the more time that they're going to lose. And so you're trying to work out, when is it best to attack? When is it best to defend? A look over to the inside again, heading to the hotel hairpin at turn 7, and not quite finding that opportunity once again. So settle yourself down. These drivers will have a lot of laps done around this Sebring circuit in the past.
Yes, indeed. Plenty of scrapping was going on between Chad Lewis and Matt Brunt. They are the current biggest gainers in the field. They've both moved up 5 spots from where they started, so they've made some pretty good runs thus far. Jason Spriggs, Chad Lewis and Matt Brunt all gaining those 4 positions each. So let's see what more can be done as they make their way around the circuit once more. Thinking about the track, Tim, it's not cool by any stretch, but I wouldn't call it a particularly hot racetrack either. I think we're going to be getting some very predictable tyre behaviour in this race, so keep an eye out for the pace to come down in the next couple of laps, but then we'll see it drop way off as they try to push this first stint as far as they can.
I know that David Haynes has a dog walking to egg frying ratio when it comes to track temperature. Right now it's slightly uncomfortable dog to slightly runny egg is the way that it would be described at the moment, these track temperatures that they're dealing with. Up over Sunset Bend then here in lap 2 of this one. Jordan Ross with the fastest lap to his name, a 2:04.4, and now 0.8 of a second clear of Sean McNamara, looking to just turn the screw at the moment at the front. We focus in towards turn number 1 with Sean van der Meulen here trying to get by Jason Spriggs. As we move up a little bit here in the order, because now Justin McLean, who is having a great run in the championship, he's up there into the top 5. He's eyeing up Dan Hall now for position, and this would be a Dan Hall that gained 3 off of the get-go and will be eyeing up, trying to stay with Dean Logsdale if at all possible. There's the shadow over to the right-hand side, and it's a case of a full look at Dan Hall versus the very crafty and nifty feet of Justin McLean.
Yep. Heel towing, right foot braking, the traditional way to drive these machines, but I would gather there's at least a couple of drivers in the field who will be left foot braking and not using the clutch on downshifts. That's the more modern way to do it, but have a look at McLean, the way that he's making up that pace in the braking zones. Unfortunately, it's not going to work out for him. Sebring, I think of all tracks, is one where the slow in, fast out mantra rings true.
It very much does. So when you're jumping into a corner, you can be aggressive as you get to the apex, but you need the drive out of it to make the next section work, to get the run on the straight, to get the side-by-side. So if you don't manage that, you're going to be in a little bit of a sticky wicket, so to speak. So keep yourself steady out there on track and realise that this is a day that is trying to be made for everybody at this moment in time. One non-starter to the grid is Jamie McKnight. So he said, look, my pace is not there. My day's going to be written before it's even started. But everybody else now trying to eye it up. That all juts out at you at Sunset Bend. You've got to be very careful about it as we're on board with Justin McLean, because you've got to just give yourself every little bit of room that you can. And along this main straight, oh, there's a car in the wall. Logan Barnett's clipped the wall out of Sunset Bend. He's gone around on the front stretch. Look at him there, spinning in the back.
Oh, that's bad. Fortunately, off the racing line and everyone can see him, so they move out of the way in due course, and just in time for the last car to come round, he flicks it back around. But I think that's an incident that is ultimately quite common at Sebring. You push a bit too hard out of Sunset Bend, and you actually catch the rear of the car on the tyre bundle on the exit. That's exactly what happened to Logan there.
You can definitely see the radiator. It was fighting side by side. Now, was there any contact here heading through the section, or was he just trying to push on the exit? Oh, he's actually just clicked the tyre bundle there, and our camera's done very well to survive over at that section of road. A very good virtual camera, and there you can see the huge difference maker of just how difficult this can be. So this will give you an insight here. So leaving the room on the outside, trying to be aggressive, is up over that banking section there, which is paved over from what used to be grass over on that section, Reese. And Logan Barnett just finding out what happens when you're a little bit too eager on the noisy pedal.
Yeah, indeed. That extra concrete there as Barnett's really struggling to get it back to the pits here. That little bit of extra paving really encourages you to take more out of the exit, but you can't push it too far, otherwise that tyre barrier will be right there waiting for you. Fortunately, Barnett is still rolling, and it seems the engine is still in all right condition at least, so he'll be spending some time getting repairs in the pits for sure. I reckon we'll see him at least a few minutes in the lane, but he should still be able to get back out there and get a classified finish.
Well, he doesn't have the black and orange mechanical flag, so obviously what damage he has accrued on the front isn't enough for iRacing system to look at it and say, look, it is mandatory, you must come down into the pits. It will be quote-unquote manageable at this moment. Sean McNamara has really put the bit between his teeth over the last couple of laps. They have dropped Kenneth Latter, but they have kept this one together between these two right now. 143 and 951 holding themselves with a very nice drive as far as things go for the moment, knowing that these two have the ability to run away from the rest of the field. Against Kenneth Latter on that last time by, McNamara 0.3 of a second quicker, so that little fishy behind, a fishy motorsport Kenneth Latter, is going to need to swim a bit quicker.
Yeah, he's going to be wagging his tail quite vigorously to get a bit of extra airflow going. But I think it makes sense that we're seeing the fastest pace here from the drivers at the front, not least because they qualified there in the first place. But clear air is incredibly important in these cars. You know, notoriously, these Gen 3 supercars with a up to 60% downforce cut from the previous generation of cars. So they are a little bit better when following each other through fast corners. But at the speeds these cars carry, you still have to worry about aero instability, taking that airflow away from the front splitter and inducing a bit of understeer. On board here with McNamara as he tries to chase down Jordan Ross. Clearly the quicker of the two at the moment, but that just gives me the feeling that Jordan Ross is managing the pace right now.
Yeah, I think this is measured from Jordan Ross, maybe looking to try and hit a fuel number so that he doesn't burn through too much. You can build the margin and pull away if you can, but if you've got to take longer stops through the first and second stops of this race, then your race is pretty much run. So this is pretty much a tempered scenario, and actually it's pretty good for Sean McNamara at the moment, because if you can keep it within half a second, he's then in the fuel save range, and that's critical.
Yeah, a little bit of lift and coast here and there down the straights could reduce your pit stop times by a second or two, or maybe allow you to go an extra lap where you otherwise might not be able to. That will be very crucial going forward. Problem for Dan Hall, by the way, and it looks like Justin McLean falling down some positions as well. Appears there was a little coming together there through Sunset Bend.
It wasn't little, it was large, and it was lucky that it didn't end up in the barriers. McLean redressing the position to Dan Hall has cost a place. But look at this, you fight for the apex on the inside. It's the corner of 1004 lines, but down the inside, just lisking out, and then there's two hits on the side. What a drift by Dan Hall to hold that one steady, and gets back online at the cost of just one place to Chris Burridge, but Justin McLean would drop two for that, as Luke Allman would comfortably find a way through.
Yeah, Allman back into 10th as a result. That was a very good save there from Dan Hall. And I think that incident just goes to show how difficult it is to slow these cars up. Sunset Bend is the kind of corner where you have to be braking and turning at the same time on the way in, and these cars do not like that.
They really don't. It's also getting very busy behind Brad Doble at the moment too. As you can see, that big wide line taken then going through by Jeff Thomas. So this is Doble, who is now leading a massive slew of cars behind him, of Caparonis, of Stewart and Spriggs and Van der Meulen and Sanderson, and you've got Mulford, Mackay, Hunt, Brunt, Smart. Right now it's almost like you're trying to list off every name from the kids TV show Trumpton back in the day at the moment. Pew Pew, Barton McGrew and the like at the moment going through. Massive pack right now, 11 cars scrapped for 14.
And it looks like it goes back even further, all the way back to Chad Lewis and Dean Flavel in 27th. All of these cars within a second of each other or less. And it looks like there's going to be some racing going on behind Brad Doble here. Caparonis under pressure from Michael Stewart. An excellent run out of Le Mans for the 95919. Let's see what Stewie can do.
Well, this is where you need the run. Get yourself to the inside, but car in front will have a bit of tow, which will save the grace of Jim at this stage. And you will look around and see that Stewart and Spriggs and Van der Meulen then are just trying to wait their turn to have an opportunity to dive on down the inside. But it's in big packs like this where one small mistake could get the apple cart. You can sense how close drivers are taking the limits here. They are really pushing. They're not learning the Barnett reality out there of I might crash into the barriers if I'm not too careful. This is a very, very hard-fought pack. Wide in through turn 3 goes Caperonis. It opens up side by side for Stewart at 5. He backs out of it, and the accordion comes into play. Big attempt off the exit from Spriggs, gets blocked.
Yeah, Stewart just couldn't get the grip on the front tyres to really commit to the move there. You know, these cars have a lot of body roll, reasonably soft suspension, especially considering how heavy they are. You get on the power, all of that weight comes off the front tyres, so you better make sure the car is pointing in the right direction before you floor it. Well, here's Michael Stewart's view here. His view, personally, cannot be seen by us. He's staring into that VR headset, focusing hard on the car ahead. He's made up 2 positions so far in this race and trying his best to make it 3, but now they're in the twisties, and this is where one mistake can send you falling back. The hard-charging Jason Spriggs behind them there in the Camaro, up 5 places so far.
You could really see how much he's having to fight the steering wheel with the force feedback then that goes on through, and he's really trying to figure out where is the right time to uncork and go for this move, trying to set it up through Jean de Bienne here, over towards Le Mans corner, and then along that Ullman straight. That's often the prime place to get a move done, and you're waiting for the car to either understeer or oversteer. You're just waiting for that sweet spot where the car is on rails, and it is one of the finest lines in all of motorsport to find the balance between understeer and oversteer in these Gen 3 cars out there in supercar trim.
Yeah, you could see with that little oversteer moment at the start of the straight, Michael Stewart, a little bit of a tut-tut and a sigh and a shrug. He knew that there was no chance getting past Jim Caperonis there, but a nice run out of Sunset Bend. Potentially, he's going to have the run here. We get a very good look at the racetracks of the world graphic there. It's one of my favorite graphics ever. Shows a whole bunch of racetracks by their actual size. That squiggly line surrounding them all is the Isle of Man tourist trophy circuit, which really goes to show how small some of the racetracks we race at are.
And if you see that red dot just above Daytona, that is Sebring, and that's where we are. He always looks to pilot it up. Wayne Walker through because Paul Young, oh damage, where's Paul Young gone? Oh, that's going to be massive. No. He's blown the engine. That could be a safety car because he's over on the left-hand side of the circuit and the car is up in flames.
Oh, that's such a shame for Paul Young, and an incredibly strong drive. 4th place he was in at the time. Well, that means that Wayne Walker is now free to take that 4th place, but, you know, it's a very common problem in these cars. Yep, very common problem. Getting the downshift right. You have to manually blip the throttle to get down through the gears in these things, and it's all too easy to push those revs a little too high.
Right, this is going to set the stall out for pretty much everyone to come in and make their first pit stop of the race then. So Ross and McNamara, who have that 4-second advantage over Kenneth Latter, they'll be looking around at this and go, well, the window's a little bit early, but it's going to make this as it is. For the moment, they would have burnt through a good amount of fuel, and they'll know they'll still have to burn through quite a bit to get themselves around. You can see both of them making the call to dive down into the pits. McNamara following, and everyone, and I mean everyone, should be jumping down in. It will take a brave driver to stay out and say, I don't want to take this as my first stop. Absolutely everyone is coming in.
Yeah, no surprise to see. Now it's a battle of the virtual pit crews. The question is...
Also, been turned on pit lane! Bang! Into the wall! I think it's Jason Spriggs who's been turned.
Jason Spriggs, who was making up... Oh, someone's staying out there, Simon Haynes. Jason Spriggs, he was making up some great places early on, but ultimately, that pit lane attenuator at Sebring will claim many a victim. It already has over the years. But that's interesting to see that Haynes is staying out here. I mean, it makes sense. If you're a driver at the back of the field, yeah, absolutely, you get a point for leading a lap.
Yeah, so that's going to be critical, and it's long service from everyone. Jordan Ross is filling that one up a bit more than Sean McNamara. So Sean has made the jump in the stops, and that is a critical stop jump there from McNamara. Looking behind that, Latter ahead of Walker. Logsdale has jumped Stone Street, who's had a little bit of a slow stop. Chris Burridge has also gone through on Troy there, and Travis Hunt's had a very short stop. So keep an eye out on Travis. He's moved himself right up the order by the fact that he's underfilled the car by comparison.
Yeah, so comparing pit stop times here, Travis Hunt's pit stop time was 22.2 seconds. Jordan Ross, by the by, who filled up the car same as Kenneth Latter, Wayne Walker, and many other drivers besides, their pit stops running about 37 to 38 seconds. That's a very big difference, and it tells me that this middle stint's going to be super short for Travis Hunt.
Yeah, so he'll need a long final stop to get himself home and dry from this point onwards. I tell you who this has given a huge saving grace for out there in this race. Logan Barnett, who had to make his first pit stop early. This will bring him right back to the group. He was over half a minute back, and so effectively he will look at where he is right now, trying to get back in lane. He's did a 9.6 second stop in there, and he'll be able to get himself back out and going, and pretty much back into attacking mindset. He's not out of this one here in the 100.
No, certainly not. That safety car saved his bacon. Look at how far behind the rest of the field he is, though. The safety car queue just coming into Tower Turn there. Shouldn't be too much of a problem for Barnett to latch onto the back of the pack. 17 positions down from where he started. His pace is clearly more midfield than very back, so I'd be looking for Barnett to be making moves once we go green again.
Yeah, those moves, I think, are going to be very, very critical to note. The safety car currently out there being piloted. It's a lovely arcade simulation safety car out there. They run not an automatic safety car, but a manual one. A look at Simon Haynes at the moment. I can only imagine that the vest that he's got on over the top of his shirt there, Reese, is to stop chafing there from the straps that he's got, putting him into his sim rig.
Yeah, that seems the most logical reason. Haynes, one of many sim drivers who like increasing their immersion by putting seat belts in their rigs. It can add a bit of a psychological benefit going through the ritual of strapping yourself in before it's time to race. Well, he's going to likely be leading this race from the front here, as I think now that he's stayed out, he's pretty much locked himself into extending this first stint as long as he can. So it'll be interesting to see what McNamara, Ross, Latter and co can do to find their way forward on fresher tyres than Simon Haynes.
Yeah, they are behind that RaceKraft simulation safety car, the yellow and the blue. Out there, a lovely contrast like an old early 2000s Renault out there at this stage. It is a McLaren 720S that is being piloted around right now, and a wonderful job it is being done at the moment, just trundling itself about at pit speed limiter at the moment. And in fact, he will dive into the pit. He's got his lap in the lead, and so he's got to get to the line before his box out there, and if he manages that, he will get the point. He will get the point as he crosses the line, but critically, he will now take his service a lap later than everybody else, fall to the back of the queue, and go, yep, I needed that, but I got a point for it. So that is just one lap's worth of gain for a little bit of pain at the moment.
Yeah, that is very fortuitously located pit stall for Simon Haynes, just past the start-finish line, and so everyone touring around a pit speed limit wasn't able to overtake him. So we'll see second stops coming in for Tim Mulford and Logan Barnett. For Barnett, the third time he's come through the pits, first time for damage, obviously. Makes sense that they'll be making that decision. It is a very long race, and they probably see a bit of value in topping up the fuel tank.
Yeah, and any little chance you have to get a bit more fuel in the car is massive out there. They've not got enough to make it home from here, but what they do have is the ability to extend the stint longer and need less in the final stages. Just getting word from race control that the safety car now, Reese, will be in at the end of this lap. We will be back to running on lap 11 of 50 with Sean McNamara in control of this field. So you probably have to start wondering, okay, some good strategy starts that we've seen out there. I now wonder, is Jordan Ross going to be aggressive? Is he going to sit back and fuel save? And what will Wayne Walker do to bring himself back in? Let's listen in here with Paul Young going down the gears into the hotel hairpin.
And it's about there where the engine finally gives up, and Paul Young would have put the power down there and realised there's no drive out of the corner. That is the incident that brought out this safety car. But yeah, very interesting questions on strategy coming out of this. McNamara obviously with the shorter pit stop, but not by much. His pit stop time was 35 seconds versus 37 for Jordan Ross. So not that much of a difference on fuel, maybe about 10 litres at the most between them, which is worth not even. It's in the single digits. It's worth maybe a lap or two at best. So yeah, let's see what Ross can do with that. Will he decide to maybe follow McNamara into the pits when it comes time for the second stop and regain his position that way? Or will he attack on track and force McNamara to burn through that fuel faster than he was?
Well, 37 seconds for Wayne Walker, 38 for Kenneth Latter, who took the most fuel of anybody over that first stop. So he put that tank right up to full, and it was actually a great indicator that Kenneth Latter maybe has a little bit of a stronger right foot than a lot of the other drivers out there. The fact that he's guzzled through that much fuel in the early stages of this makes this race a little bit more predictable out there, because you got to get, you would argue, at least 18 laps into this next stint before you got the chance to bring yourself home and dry. But for the moment, it is a day of looking at McNamara and Jordan Ross. Now that indication is 1 lap in terms of fuel difference there. 87 litres placed, 92 litres as we expect. The safety car pulls itself away from the field and will take Sunset Bend, so Sean McNamara now can go whenever he likes, and that is a dangerous position because you've got to be so switched on. You can see no weaving really from this field. A little look there back, about 15 places back, just get an eye out then and see where everyone is. Travis Hunt as well is looking for a sighter mark on when Sean McNamara is going to go. Now Sean McNamara pulls the pin as they head towards Sunset Bend, and Jordan Ross got caught sleeping a little bit there into Sunset as we'll get back underway on lap 11. And critically, Kenneth Latter didn't get much of a good go of things either.
Yes, so across the line, McNamara leads by 0.6 of a second. That is still enough for Ross to be in slipstream range, but he's going to be forced to drive a bit harder to get back into that slipstream range. Otherwise, he's going to burn through a bit more of his fuel as well. The first restart then, and it looks like a nice clean run from just about everybody as they make their way out of turn 1. Logan Barnett making his way past Simon Haynes, finally gaining a position after his early crash. But for the moment, McNamara and Ross are jetting away from everybody. They're clearly head and shoulders above the field right now.
They've got pace, they may as well use it here, and Kenneth Latter's going to have to wake up a little bit here and make sure he stays within the range of those drivers out there who are up in front, and that's where the trouble is. That Mustang is unable to keep up with the pace of the top two, and so they sit themselves in line and look to get themselves going here in this, what will now be classified after the first 11 laps here, Reese, as the mid part of the race already. I wouldn't say we're in early stages. They're going to have to sit down, buckle down, and get that fuel gain into position, give themselves as much position as they want to, and for the moment it's looking quite, I would say, cushy at the front of this field as they head their way over towards the Bishop Bend.
Yeah, I think this middle stint of the race is going to be a bit of a slow burn. From this point on, every driver is trying to set themselves up for the final stop. There is still potential for a safety car here and there if we see something similar to what happened to Paul Young. Speaking of Paul Young, he's managed to get repairs done after towing back to pit lane, and he is back out on circuit. Good to see, but he has unfortunately lost a lap as a result of that. So we won't be taking any further part in battles for the front of the field. Our top two taking some alternate lines coming into Sunset Bend. Ross a little bit wider on the way in than Sean McNamara, and it looks like he's gained a bit out of that. They stay well clear of that tyre barrier.
Yeah, that'll be the one fast repair that is available to these drivers, and it's been used by Paul Young there at that stop as Jordan Ross, another fastest lap there at 2:04.3 that he puts down on the board and says, look, that's more points in my back pocket. But Paul Young will need at least 2 safety cars now to pull himself onto the race leading lap and into position to fight again, so he'll need a lot of help go and get himself sorted. Through 3, 4 and into 5, we focus here with Jeff Thomas and Travis Hunt, the 2 teammates then. It's Thomas there behind there in the second of the red and yellow and black cars out there. Travis Hunt is the one in front, who will be looking around at Luke Ullman, who will be trying to get through, and there will be a sense that Travis is able to keep the pace at the moment because he will have less fuel in his car. His car will be lighter, Reese, by comparison than to some of his rivals. That's why he's able to keep the same pace when he was running in the mid-pack earlier on.
Exactly right. So Hunt should be one of the faster cars in this mid-pack as a result, but I think with a lighter car, it tempts you to push a little bit harder to get that pace, and so it increases the risk for Travis Hunt as a result. If he is a thorn in the side of the cars behind him, he won't be for long. He will undoubtedly be the first car to take the second pit stop here.
There's no shock on that value, so he will know that he has got to start making hay now and gaining his time and his placement, because he is going to have to take a little bit longer in that second stop when everyone else is going to be on a slightly shorter run. So it gives him the track position, it gives him the placement now, but he's got to work with that and use that clean air to his advantage. That will keep him in a nice position out there with strategy. Justin McLean, by the way, behind has pulled out of line. He wants to get by Jeff Thomas into Sunset, and guess what? We've not seen it, but the move is there. That's how close they get through Sunset, the contrasting lines that are available.
And another view of that tyre bundle of death there. Once again, steering well clear of it on the run down the start-finish straight, under the bridge, hard on the brakes for the fast and flowing turn 1, which really narrows up on the exit. This is one of the most difficult corners in sim racing for my money, but it looks like the both of them nailed it very nicely. An issue further back, meanwhile, I've seen Chad Lewis falling down the order in the 727. After starting from the back of the grid, he has fallen back to the rear of the running order.
Yeah, that's no help, and that will be through Sunset, where he has just had a spin out the final corner. So that, again, is proving to be difficult here. Sunset Bend is hurting. Let's try and get a look at things then on the RaceKraft Simulations replay. It looks like we haven't got quite there at the moment. Now we have, and this is where it goes wrong. No contact here. He just tries to put the power down, and yet another one that is clipped, the tyre bundle of destiny.
Yes. That could have been a lot worse, honestly. It's good to see that Chad is still rolling, and it seems with minimal visual damage, at least. Those hits to the wall ultimately didn't seem that brutal, but the story will be told when he is traveling in a straight line. Is there any left or right hand down here? It doesn't look like it. The car seems to be driving straight. I'd call that a lucky escape.
Yeah, I'd say you got away with one if that's the scenario that you sit yourself in with, and I would look at it and go, well, I'll wipe my brow because it could have been a lot heavier as you exit that section. But that just goes to show you how important the structure is here on these Camaros and these Mustangs. There is a lot of damage that can be found when you get a massive hit, and those crash structures really important. So it looks like they're built pretty strongly here today.
Back with Jamie McKnight in the lead of the race. Jordan Ross has brought the gap down 0.3 of a second, and they're trading blows in terms of lap time. McNamara was fastest on the previous lap, but Jordan Ross running a mere few hundredths of a second faster on that lap. It would appear that these two have about 0.5 of a second advantage at most over the rest of the field. Clearly the race is between them. It's a two-horse.
Yeah, it's a hurry-up day between these two, and these two have been basically pillar 1 and pillar 2 when it has come to be racing in the V8 Vets Championship. They are both just as quick as each other on any given day, and really it has been Wayne Walker who has been shaking up the apple cart this season, going, it's not just going to be these two who run away, but today it is. It's a case of let's get the old form book out there at the moment. A slight little look to the inside from Jordan Ross, but nothing too untoward there down at the hotel hairpin. Not going to be really pushing the issue right now. You don't want to have a little bit of a look side by side through 2 or 3 corners. You look for decisive in battles.
Yeah, and I think for Jordan Ross, he's just waiting for that opportunity. If he indeed wants to get back in the lead at this point, maybe he'll switch things up and decide, I've gotten close enough to Sean now. I can save a bit of fuel and try to extend my stint a little further. Back to the battle for third. Kenneth Latter still holding on to it, and Latter is one of only 2 cars that remain in the same position they started this race in. The other one is Sean van der Meulen down in 19th, but Wayne Walker is piling the pressure on. He was 2/10 faster on the previous lap.
Yep, he's certainly just trying to get up through the gears now, is Wayne. Just settle into the race, understand what he's got available compared to those around, and then figure out what he can do in the second half of the race on his own pace. So now as we go on board with one Mr. Jordan Ross, this is where you just sit here through Sunset Bend, and a lot of drivers going to the narrow line. You'll see cars sometimes going out to the extensive wide line to try and get that big run off the exit. There's 2 different philosophies of thought around this corner, because the more that you get close to the inside, the more that you're actually dealing with the bumps of the concrete around that section race. And what you're seeing here is these cars that can play with the ride height. They are, quote-unquote, from the touring car spec out there, and are Australia's premier touring car series. They've got the ability to ride the bumps better than most.
They have indeed, and you know, it's such a unique aspect of this circuit. Those blocks of concrete date from the Second World War era of this airfield. The track has not resurfaced itself in those areas, and for very good reason. The concrete blocks and the bumps are an almost indelible part of Sebring's charm, its story, its character. But these cars, as you mentioned, really are suited to riding these bumps. But having said that, as I'm watching that on board, it strikes me that these cars are one of the few where you can see, you can feel how hard the front end is struggling without actually seeing the driver's steering inputs.
No, and you can see how much pitch and roll there is on this machinery. You can see the car lurch forward, you can see it pin back, you can see it fade to the left, fade to the right. It's not often that you get to see all 4 geometries being shown in a scenario like this. Luke Ullman now still trying to eye up Travis Hunt for this move, and Travis up 12 as far as this race goes. Not the biggest mover at the moment. That's Matt Brunt. He's up 15 at this stage of the race and doing a wonderful job of things in 14th position right now. But Travis is able to get the foot down a little bit quicker out of those corners. That's making life difficult. His teammate, though, struggling a lot more there. Jeff Thomas with a big wiggle, and that's brought John Gallen into play, wanting to try and find, well, more than a gallon's worth of overtake right now. He'd love an overtake as wide as the Pacific Ocean in that Pacific Esports car.
Yeah, certainly would. Makes up some gains coming into Sunset Bend. On the way out is more important, though. And you can really see how much these guys are pushing Jeff Thomas and John Gallen across the line. Between them, it would appear that Gallen is the slightly faster of the 2, and both of them have a little bit less pace than the drivers chasing them. Matt Brunt, you mentioned, he's another one of the drivers that went for a short fill on the first stop. The other one being obviously Travis Hunt, but only 27 seconds in the box for Matt Hunt. There's the move for the lead, by the way. Jordan Ross at the hairpin is past Sean McNamara and continues to be the fastest car out there.
And a change for third as well has gone through, and that one is Wayne Walker getting the job done a couple laps ago. So the changes have been important. In fact, it was out of Cunningham Corner and through Collier where Wayne Walker got the pass. Kenneth Latter just gave it up and let him have it. So changes for first, changes for third, and so now it's a case of can we go and run away? Jordan Ross now allowing Sean McNamara to sit behind and save even more. It's a case of we might need to get the giddy up, because if Wayne just gets it in gear, then everyone else is going to be at a point of concern behind.
Yeah, it looks like it's difficult, though, for Wayne Walker to keep up with these guys. I'm just looking at their fastest lap times at the moment. Walker's fastest lap is a 2:05.112. Both Jordan Ross and Sean McNamara are able to run mid-204s at least when their cars are at the fastest. Ross has the fastest lap as a 2:04.35. And at the moment, they're still running mid-205s as things stand. 2:06s for Wayne Walker.
Yeah, those 2:06s are huge, and now you're really sensing that McNamara, even though he has given up that race lead, still definitely has pace today, and this is just gesturing and posturing right now, I would say, at this stage. We're a third of the way through in terms of the running. They've done about 38 minutes worth of driving, almost to the tune of about 0.2 of a second is the difference between 37.59 and 38 minutes on the dot. But for the moment, it's these two who are showing that they've got what it takes to make this race happen. They've been the ones who have been the standouts at the moment, at the front, through the big bend of turn 6, the Gurney bend, over towards the hotel hairpin at 7, and McNamara just happy to settle himself down, happy to keep himself in this position. And you'll get certain drivers who have an understanding of a driving style that either they like to be aggressive or they like to be defensive, and so you get that sense of what drivers have. Side by side there will be between Gallen and Thomas again, but again down at the hairpin, John Gallen just can't get the run around the outside. He just can't place himself into a position. He even flashed the lights a little bit to say, look, I'm trying my best to get around you and you're not making it easy for me.
Yeah, Jeff Thomas evidently carrying some good pace on board at the moment, but he's got a lot of pressure from behind. This is a whole huge pack of cars that stretches down to Christian Smart and Jason Spriggs, who are currently fighting for 22nd and 23rd side by side through Collier. Little bit of oversteer there for Jason Spriggs, and Christian Smart has the inside for Tower Turn. Put the power down, or a little bit of synchronized sliding. Jason Spriggs is pushing hard at the moment.
Well, you've got to remember, Jason Spriggs did have that tag into the wall at the first pit stop, so that really put him in an interesting position. And look at his front. I wonder if we can get a look on board at the front of Jason Spriggs, because the bonnet is slightly pinned up at the moment from the contact that he had. So for Jason Spriggs, he realizes right now, I don't want to use my fast repair right now. I will live with the damage through this first stint and take the fast repair at my second stop to get myself home.
A little bit of a zoom in there from our producer Dan. We can get a slightly better view of it, and yeah, you can see the panel gap is a little bit larger above the Chevrolet bow tie. So yeah, clearly Jason Spriggs a bit walking wounded at the moment, but decidedly less wounded than he was on the way into the pits.
Yeah, and as that has happened, Luke Ullman is now through on Travis Hunt to move then for 8th place out there. So Travis down to 9th. He'll have Dan Hall and Justin McLean for a bit of company to deal with as we focus on board with Jason Spriggs here, working his way through turns 3, 4 and into 5 for Accelerate Sim Racing, and then out of turn 5 over towards turn 6 and then to turn 7, the hotel hairpin. But this is where you're just trying to set yourself in the middle of this race. Make sure that that strategy card is playing the way that you expect it to. Every car you can jump up here is an important boom in this race, and they are looking around at this, what is a known quantity circuit, a circuit that will be very much a case of how do I manage my fuel numbers around here, because it's such a long lap here around this place. We're talking about a 6-kilometer circuit race. This is the sort of circuit where you can save a lap a lot easier than other places. As we say that, there's a move down the inside. It's David Nash trying to get it done on Jim Caperonis. Jim holds the power down beautifully in the 801 sim racing car. The Southern Cross machine is not going to give it up here. Side by side through Bishop. What tenacity!
And ultimately David Nash gets the move done, evidently deciding it's time for a bit of a charge forward. And you're right, fuel saving is easier at Sebring than at most other tracks. The battle for third still going on there as Kenneth Latter and Wayne Walker are side by side through Sunset Bend. Walker defends the position nicely there. There was an attempt from Kenny, but that's going to bring Dean Logsdale into the fight for third.
And I'm just looking around at it. It was Wayne Walker's mistake through Jean de Bienne that opened that up. He ran wide, and so that gave Kenneth Latter a real chance to go and throw it in. Now 5.7 seconds, and I wonder whether Wayne is just trying to catch Jordan Ross and Sean McNamara and was overdriving the car.
Yeah, I think a little bit off pace from what we expected for this round. He's trying to push a little bit harder, but yeah, he is vulnerable. That's a much better run by Latter coming out of turn 5, but it's so hard to actually pull a move off at the hairpin. The braking zone is so bumpy, it changes every single lap. Fortunately for Kenneth Latter, he does manage to get the move done, but he's in trouble on the exit.
He said he wasn't quite confident heading to Sebring, and he won't be confident with the little nibble that he has just had out of Kenneth Latter's rear there. So he's looked around at it, he's thought, I'll have a go on the exit. It hasn't worked because Kenneth's car is probably the widest one in the entire field, and Wayne Walker's back to 4th, and he'll have company. Dean Logsdale, Chris Burrows, Troy Stonestreet. Oh, look at the sweat that's pouring off there at the chest of Kenneth Latter at the moment. He's really having to work.
Yeah, it looks like me after I've done a race. Goodness me, he's going to have one heck of a shower after that. But, excuse me, you do see the concentration on his face here. He is staring into the corners, barely blinking at all through these bends. I think the first time you'll see him close his eyes is once he gets out of Le Mans here and finally gets back up through the gears. There we go. That's a little bit of a sweat wipe. Maybe should invest in a sweatband.
Yeah, it would be very cool to see that out there for him to get his gym bro phase going on. I think is the best way to describe that, as Kenneth Latter then in that 3rd position, happy with his margin, with Walker, Logsdale, Burridge and Stonestreet then sitting on the rear of this battle for 3rd place out there at the moment. A look at Wayne Walker with the should-speed gloves on at the moment as he looks to try and work himself then in towards the left of turn number 1, and that transition from concrete to asphalt. They all know how to drive asphalt. Concrete, a little bit more of a different property. You have to drive it slightly differently. There's a little bit of an earlier braking zone that you need when you're on it.
Yeah, and I don't think that's talked about enough, really, the differences between concrete and asphalt. Sebring is the road circuit that really demonstrates it the most, but you see it at ovals as well. Dover, in particular, has a concrete surface, and you often hear drivers talking about how when you lay rubber down on the circuit, the rubber will seep into asphalt because it's porous. Concrete is not the same. The rubber just sits on top, and that does change what kind of grip is available, how the grip changes when the track temperature fluctuates. Yes,
so you're basically dealing with one surface where it's basically as one, and the other one is like having oil and water, where you have basically a cup of water and then you put some oil in, and of course, you know, they don't mix, so it just sits on top and it makes a very different surface to go and drive on. It's very much like night and day difference. Oh, speaking of night and day, look at this around the outside. Brilliant stuff then being found as Sean van der Meulen then and Jim Caparonis going all at it here in towards Tower. Jim's got the inside, he's overcooked it into the corner though. Van der Meulen nits one, pearls one, contact, and they're both going to go into the grass. There goes 2 or 3 places between them. Make it 3 and 4. They will lose all the pace along the straight.
All it takes is a tiny bit of side-by-side contact under acceleration, and these cars will be sent off. That leaves Christian Smart, Brad Doble, and Jason Spriggs to take a couple of freebies out of that one. And now Van der Meulen is right in the midst. Oh, no, it looks like he's gone off again. Oh, no.
Going through the Ullman court onto the Ullman straight, he has glanced the barriers there on the right-hand side, and I think he's got away with one. He scrubbed the speed. There is a little bit of scraping on the front right fender, but outside of that, he's relatively unscathed there in the Chevrolet. Let's take a look at this then. So he's trying to get the drive here off of the exit. He would have spun the tyres up going through the grass, so they'll be dirty as he looks to get onto pace, and then the back just lets itself go, a full broadside and into the tyres.
Yeah, fortunately the contact didn't look too terrible. Oh, Okay, looks like he's decided that it's worth getting repairs done. It's just about time for the final pit stop window to open. If you pit around this time, you might be able to get to the end, but I think Van der Meulen coming in now, he might have to save a couple of laps, maybe bank on another safety car coming out.
I think he'll definitely need to bank on that. There's not much he can do except just look around at his day and realise I've kind of made my bed and I'm going to need to lie in it at this point. So there will be that to deal with. Now, in his stead, is the pack that he now leaves behind that now tries to work itself through the Fangio S's. Now, back when they were running this in Formula 1 in the 50s and 60s there, Reese, that would have been a dedicated S's section. In modern day racing, that is flat out in pretty much anything.
Yeah, that particular part of the circuit dates from the early 90s, I think, or the mid-90s. It used to be that little sequence called Fangio was actually a proper set of corners. The apexes were much sharper. They followed the line of one of the service roads, but it was reprofiled to be a bit more of a flat-out run in recent decades. I mean, you only need to look around this circuit to see clues of the changes that have been made over the years, particularly in the area of Tower Turn and turns 3, 4 and 5. Used to be that the run into Tower Turn was actually run in the reverse direction to what it is now. Turn 1 was a lot more open, used a bit more of the runways, and it was a solid left-hander through Tower Turn, bringing you back into where turn 5 and 6 are now.
So someone who's needing a solid left-hander to go and get a move done will probably be Jeff Thomas, but he won't find it here at turn 1, and neither do I believe will he at turn 3. Gets a good run actually though through turn 1, so now through the small kink right of turn 2, over towards turn number 3, and again, just not quite being able to find that move that unlocks the position as they head towards halfway in this race. And you find this quite often. You'll match up with drivers with various pace, and it is worth noting as well, that track is cooling, 29 degrees Celsius. We're in the twilight zone at the moment, in sim time nearing 7 o'clock. We might be in flood-like conditions at the end of this race if we're not careful.
Yeah, looking like it. Air temperature remaining about 25 Celsius, should drop to 24 Celsius in the next hour or so. But this is certainly the reason why Sunset Bend is named as such. By the end of the race, drivers are going to be driving directly into that setting sun. But having said that, it looks like it's quite cloudy in the sky, so maybe they won't have as much of a visual issue there.
No, maybe they won't, and that could be telling. Sean van der Meulen, by the way, that is nearly 3 minutes in the stop, so that is day written off after a hit like that. I wonder whether yet he's going to retire the car. He used his fast repair at the first stop and realised, oops, I really shouldn't have done that, Reese.
Yeah, that's a shame for Van der Meulen. Obviously, the damage was a bit worse than I anticipated, seeing that incident from the outside. But when you've already used up your fast repair and you see that kind of pit stop time looming ahead of you, that is unfortunately one of the only ways to go. He could make it back out there and try to get a classified finish, but he wouldn't be racing for much from here.
He wouldn't, but I tell you who is. It's the group just behind these two right now. Brunt, Stewart, Hall, Sanderson. They're all there, and they're all looking to prove that they can jump through. So these drivers are sat there at about, what, 2.5 tenths of a second, pretty much through every run. They can't quite get enough. It's almost like they need an extra 100 meters on every straight to have those marauding sends down the inside. And Matt Brunt is doing a really good job at the moment of holding this group to account right now in 13th place. He is just taking every corner as it comes. He's not too worried about where he places the car because he knows he's safe into almost every corner by the looks of things.
Yeah, he didn't carry the brakes too far into turn 5 there. I expected him to trail brake a bit more, but evidently just lifting off and letting the car roll through the apex is the way he's trying to go here. Worth remembering that Brunt is one of the drivers who had a shorter first stop, so he has a bit more incentive to save fuel here, try and extend that stint out by an extra lap and put himself on tyres that'll be in a bit better condition towards the end. But he's going to have the hard attacking Michael Stewart up behind him. Hall and Sanderson also trying their best to make up places. Hall in particular, down 4 from where he started, so he'll be trying to equalise that.
He definitely will, and he'll realise that he's seen that gap at 7/10 of a second. That wasn't the greatest tower turn either, so Sanderson might be looking to make that 5 out there to try and jump through. So this is where you start understanding, when you're in a battle pack like this one, the moment that you step out of line and make a mistake, they're on you like jackals, basically, in a group like this. So you know you just have to set yourself up, and Michael Stewart doesn't have the best Le Mans corner, and so that brings Dan Hall back into play. And you just note that every small mistake is there. Oh, cheeky little drink there, getting yourself hydrated through the middle of the race. It often goes understated, even in sim racing, how much you lose in terms of water in your body as you go out there and race.
We are still in the depths of summer down here in Australia, as it looked like a bit of contact with the wall there for Matt Brunt. No, hang on a minute. Justin McLean's had a problem. I think he caught the barrier.
Yeah, it's the same place. We've seen it twice, and he makes it thrice. And the front is caved in as he now looks to try and walk himself back around the circuit. He's trying to get up to speed once again in the 662. But here's a look on the back. And is it just I take a bit too much out of it? Oh! It just nipped at the front, and basically there's not much you can do from that point onwards. You are a passenger until the car goes back around again.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, it's interesting we're seeing so many cars having issues with that wall on the corner exit, but you have to remember these cars are right-hand drive. It's difficult to actually place yourself sometimes when you're sitting on the right-hand side of a car coming up on a wall on the left-hand side on exit. For Justin McLean's credit, he did have a little bit of a lose, but, well, that's going to be the end of that run for him.
And you've got to remember as well there, Reese, as you look at it, the final end of the tyre bundle is white with a white wall on the outside.
Yeah.
So if you want to try and pick out where that is, you have to be eagle-eyed to do it. If iRacing were nice, they would paint the last 2 tyre bundles blue.
Indeed they would, but that's not how the track is in the real world, so they try to reflect that as best they can. Back to Ray Smith and the recovering Logan Barnett. This is a nice little turnaround for Logan here. Got into the pits under the safety car and managed to make up some time after losing it early on thanks to his own appointment with that tyre barrier. Let's see what kind of exit he gets here from Le Mans, a bit wide on entry. I don't know if he's going to be able to get it done there, but using all of the curve to its full advantage, he'll at least stay in touch.
Yeah, we just saw Lorne Mackay there going slow. He caught the grass on entry into Jean de Bienne, and that's cost him 2 places. He's gone through. Simon Haynes, remember, has led a lap in this race. That was under the safety car period. He's got his WKMP Sim Sports teammate there, Greg Sharp, just in front, and these two having a pretty good go of things out there at the moment. And so for the moment, Greg having a good look around. Who's behind me? Oh, it's Simon Haynes. I know you, Simon. Let's have a good scrap.
Yep, nice formation flying between the WKMP cars. Thinking again about Haynes' decision to stay out an extra lap under safety car, not only getting the point for leading a lap, but also pitting a lap later than just about everyone else on that first pit cycle. He should be able to extend his second stint out a bit more, and I think he's quite comfortable here behind Greg Sharp. He'll be getting the slipstream, he'll be keeping up the lap time while trying his best to save the tyres.
Yeah, there'll be drivers like Tim Mulford who are in the same boat as that, trying to get it sorted. Mid-pack really having to work at the moment, coming out of the hotel hairpin. It's all stuck up behind Jim Caparonis at the moment. Lorne Mackay's there. Ray Smith sees the car down his inside. That's Logan Barnett, and he is charging back through the field. He needed to make that one, and he made sure he commanded the corner. He was so eager to get that move done. He would have travelled all the way up to Orlando there at Cunningham Corner trying to get that one slowed down.
Yeah, fortunately able to get back online through the twisties and stay in front out of Tower Turn, but a little bit of a twitch under acceleration there. Tower Turn It's incredibly hard to actually get the power down in just about any car because it widens on the entry and the exit to quite a sharp apex. It almost feels like it tightens halfway through. If you can nail the line, it's all well and good, but the curb is brutal on the inside, and so it's hard to actually get the power down in a way you're satisfied with every single lap.
Yeah, so that satisfaction of hitting your mark every time. This is one of the few cars where I don't think you quite can. He really closes up behind Lorne, and he's trying to just open up the exit of the corner, just narrow off and get as much there. But if you're going to slide it like that, you're going to be in trouble. And that is a big old save, and all that work to get by Ray Smith. Well, you're going to have to do it again, Sunshine.
Yeah, that's a shame there, but he'll get back in line nicely and find his way through turn one. The issue with sliding the car on power like that is it burns up the rear tires. These cars hate it when the tires get overheated, and the issue just compounds itself, as you can clearly see.
Yeah, he's driving in a manner which is overly aggressive here, the tail kicking out on every single corner. Logan Barnett, I think, has just got to calm himself down, otherwise he is going to lose that ground on everybody else. He is overdriving the car. It's the prime example of it. That's a lot neater there into the hairpin, and he just needs to get those tyres cooled back down again. Give himself a lap or two, get them reset. Okay, they'll be a little bit worse for wear, but they'll be okay. There's Troy Stonestreet. He's now off the back of Dean Logsdale here, and that's Chris Burridge in trouble.
Yeah, looks like potentially a coming together or a mistake for... No? Interesting. Well, we'll find out in very short order, thanks to RaceKraft Simulations, exactly what happened to Burridge here. See Stonestreet behind and hopping the curb on the way into Tower Turn. The exit. Oh, he caught the gravel off the exit of the curb there. Oh, that's a heavy contact with the Armco.
Yeah. It doesn't look like much, but when you're in there on grass, you're just trying to hold it steady. The right is completely scuffed up. Then on the yellow, black, and what is the lovely cyan wheel rims that he runs at the moment, and that is straight into the pits. Get my fast repair. This is my final stop of the race.
Yeah, at the end of lap 26 there, so as long as he fills the car up, he should be able to get to the end no problem. And if he has fast repairs still in hand, now is the time to use it. He'll go falling down the order and basically start the cycle for the final pit stop. But I don't really see anyone wanting to take their final stop now or in the next few laps outside of the cars that short-filled the first stop.
No, I agree with you in that sense. I think all drivers will want to take this as far as they possibly can with this final stop into the end of the race. So I would stare down the barrel of the fact that anyone who is out there who is pitting now will have probably got into a little bit of trouble somewhere in their race strategy, and they will have to find a way to fight it back as it goes. We watch then with David Nash on the front of this three-car group, with Christian Smart, who's the main focus of the camera, and then Brad Doble, who is there just behind, trying to keep himself into play. This is 16th, 17th, and 18th right now on circuit.
Nash and Smart both up 11 positions. Doble trying to make a recovery. He's down 3 spots, but they did get a couple of freebies a few laps ago thanks to the contact between Jason Spriggs and Jim Caparonis. We'll wait and see what more they can do here. In their own little pack, I think Christian Smart's going to be more than happy to stay behind for now and keep saving fuel. Moving a little further up the field, looks like Troy Stonestreet in the background there. It's the battle for third. Kenneth Latta leading this one, and Wayne Walker still piling the pressure on.
But it's all he can do at the moment is keep a driver like Kenneth Latta honest at the moment. He won't know how much Kenneth is having to sweat at the moment, and just to keep himself ahead, and he wants each and every single corner to be the most aggressive to get through. But Dean Logsdale actually, I think, has been the really cleverest driver of this group. He's been the quietest. He's not thrown a move in anger. He's just sat on the back of this group, and he'll be looking at these drivers going, yeah, look, you can have all your battles and your slides and your power off the exit. I'll try and beat you on fuel mileage.
Yeah, and he does need to focus on fuel mileage because he had a 34-second stop under the safety car, while Kenneth Latter and Wayne Walker filled their cars up with 37, 38-second stops. So Logsdale's in a similar position to Sean McNamara here. And yes, speaking of which, Travis Hunt coming in for his second stop there. He's one of the cars that's short-fueled at stop 1.
Yeah, not shocked. Paul Young will also come in a lap down and make his stop. So Travis here is turning around and realising this is going to be my long stop. I reckon this could be about a 45 to 50 second stop if he's not careful here. Just on their stop time, you need to get all that fuel to run on in. They are allowed to go up to 130 litres into the car, and it is a 43-second stop for Travis Hunt, which is longer than what anybody took at the first round of stops. So that is a lot of fuel to get him home, and he will look to try and keep himself home and hosed. But now Kenneth Latter still holding himself steady, has himself about 2.5 car lengths then into Jean de Bienne. You feel that's enough. You've got to be within 2 car lengths, I think, to have a really good go of it.
Yeah, narrow entry into Le Mans, though. That might compromise his exit a little bit, and this may very well be the chance that Wayne Walker is looking for. Gained some momentum on the exit of the corner, but it feels like he's hit a metaphorical brick wall there in the slipstream. He's not making huge gains on Kenneth here.
No, but that's why the wide line's taken, so he can just dart to the middle of the corner a little bit easier, then pilot out of the exit. You can see that Kenneth's having to give it a little bit of work out of the final corner, keep himself really steady, and this is really all about just how you hold your margin. And speaking of which, a margin change. Sean McNamara is tired of waiting down at turn 1, easily gets the move done on Jordan Ross and says, I want it, I'll get it.
Looks like he set it up in the final corner there. It all started at Sunset Bend. And actually, it looks like Jordan Ross ran wide. It was a bit deep there from our former race leader, and McNamara said, all right, if that's going to happen, then I might as well go for the move into turn 1. And in the end, Jordan Ross tried to fight it all the way to the apex here. Ultimately, though, gave it up to Sean McNamara.
He's pretty much on the cusp here, is Jordan Ross, of having the most laps led in this race and having that being unassailable. But Sean McNamara will be looking to take that away from him, and those will be points as well in that regard. Matt Brunt in for his final stop of the race. So another driver who came in and took less fuel at the opening stop, deciding they're going to come in. I think we're in that window now in about 5 laps time where we're going to see the majority of that field making that call to jump down into pits. So this is where you're starting to build it up. And McNamara would have sensed that, an opportunity, and realised one very critical fact there, Reese. I will have track position coming into the pits.
Yeah, track position incredibly important here, and I think getting as much track position as you can over Jordan Ross is the goal, because remember, McNamara had the shorter first stop here. He is going to have a slightly longer stop in order to get to the end. Not only that, but may have to pit a little bit earlier. It's very tight between these guys. Again, it's only really a lap's worth of fuel separating them.
Look at that line through Sunset Bend. He was on a tightrope. He was hugging the inside line. There is a bit of grass there on that inside. You don't get often to see a car get that narrow through the final corners out there. That was a pretty bold line by McNamara, who is trying to take the path of least resistance pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, you can see coming through turn 4 into 5, a little helping of oversteer that was immediately corrected once he turned in for the left-hander. McNamara's doing his very best to stay in front at this stage. It's always interesting looking at these drivers on the Zoom feed. Some drivers, you can tell what they're going through just by looking at their face. That's not the case here for Sean. He's as stone-faced as they come.
Yeah, he is, though, also as well, Reese, part of the driver core that needs a MotoGP lean angle into every corner.
Yeah, indeed. So it's anything to increase your immersion. Sometimes it's just muscle memory that does that for you. And drivers often find that they can carry more speed through the corners if they lean into them. You're not fighting against G-force. You're really just trying to see your way into the next corner. No problem for McNamara with those triple monitors. corners, going past his head even, it seems.
Yep, so he can't get more immersed than that. He's almost 90 degrees. He's got to look at what this car is doing, fighting his way then through the left and then the right of Le Mans and on to the Ulmann Straight here on the 30th lap of this race. There'll be 20 to go when he crosses the line to start lap 31 here of 50, and looking behind at Jordan Ross, who has been very measured in the way that this race has gone. He knows that only him and Wayne Walker have won races this season, and right now if he can get back-to-back wins, he'll start knocking on the door of Wayne Walker and saying this is what we can do. That's your live standings right now. On the right-hand side, Jordan Ross would get a gap down to 9, but it will be down even further if he could get by Sean McNamara and gain that position.
Well, live standings at the moment there, yeah, only 9 points separating Ross and Walker, and if Walker continues falling into the clutches of Dean Logsdale here, that may change even further. It'll be very interesting to see. Stone Street and Latter, well, there's going to be some pretty good points gained from Latter as a result of his potential podium here. We see more takers into the pits, though. Luke Ullman, Michael Stewart, Dan Hall, and Wayne Sanderson are all in.
Yeah, and Michael Stewart then making that call and saying, look, I am also going to be one who will be jumping down in the pits, and he'll be driving aggressively out there in the second half. He is wonderfully done in terms of what he's been looking to sort out with the bin the blade for bailing cause that has been there and sorted. But you are now noting that it's most of the rear of the field that has been going through and making those stops, because naturally those who can't quite find the pace of the others, drivers at the front are smoother. It's really annoying in racing, Reese. The drivers who are at the front are often the best fuel savers as well.
Yeah, I think about my teammate at Fusion Sim Racing, Craig Edwards. He drives every car right foot braking, even the ones that are just paddle shift with no clutch. And he seems to just have this annoying habit of getting more fuel mileage out of the car than just about anyone else. I have no idea how he does it. But that just goes to show, part of being fast is knowing when to burn the most fuel.
Wayne Walker seeing Kenneth Latter have a bit of a wiggle there coming off of Tower Turn, and now trying to eye up the Ulmann Straight as a place of opportunity. Won't find it here, so again, patience needing to prevail. They also still have Troy Stone Street at 2 seconds back. He's not gone off of the back of this group. It's still very much a case of everyone is in close ranks with each other, and they are still trying to work out where is going to be the best place for them. Now in comes Wayne Walker. I'm tired of sitting back in this group. I'm going to try and pit to undercut.
Yeah, here we go then. I'll be monitoring that pit stop time as the track temperature has gone back up a little bit, 28 Celsius. Actually, no, it's continuing to go down very, very slowly. I thought it was a bit lower earlier, but apparently I was wrong. Walker has just come into his pit stall now. Jeff Thomas is going to join him in the lane. It looks like John Gallen's going to be following them in. David Nash in for his second stop. There's a whole host of drivers that are coming in here after 23 laps completed on the second stint.
John Gallen's one of those drivers who I think is having a very good day today, and he might be putting himself up for Driver of the Day honours if he continues in this vein. So keep an eye out on those who are all in, making their stops, making those calls. Simon Haynes, we expect to be one of the last one. Practically, there's just 6 who have yet to make their stop, or their second stop of the race, and it just so happens to be your top 5 at the moment. Simon Haynes, who's in 6th right now, and then Wayne Walker. That's the difference that you see. Tim Mulford as well, we're expecting he's going to need to make an extra stop as well in this one, as John Gallen has got out away ahead of Jeff Thomas.
Yeah, he has indeed. That's a stop that's about 3 seconds quicker, maybe 2.5 seconds quicker for John Gallen. And Dan Hall is going to be alongside on their way out of the pits, manages to just get out ahead of the Evolution Racing team for 6-2. So a lap fresher tyres now for John Gallen. Needs to try and get them up to temperature. Yep, Ross has gotten back past McNamara.
Yeah, he's done that very, very well, and Brad Doble has been given the black flag, and that has not been from the racing stewards here. I think he must have sped in the pit. So Dean Flavel, another one who's been caught out here, and they're starting to make mistakes here. They have been in the tank for a long time. It's the longest race on the calendar. They've already driven for an hour and 10 minutes here. So those mistakes, they are likely to be found. You are asking these drivers, the Veteran Series here is all for drivers who are 40 or older out there. This is intense work that needs to be done for these drivers. You need a lot of effort on concentration.
Yeah, Latter, Logsdale and Stone Street are going to be focusing on their pit stops now. It just leaves our top two, plus Simon Haynes, yet to make their way into the lane. Chad Lewis also owes us another pit stop, running in 10th right now. But we mentioned earlier the potential for track position being to Sean McNamara's advantage when he took the lead. Now that's flipped on its head again. This is how Jordan Ross did it. Or, we've got to wonder, is it how Sean McNamara did it to himself? Running through Tower Turn, we look for the application of the throttle, and it looks like the rears are giving up on him.
And speaking of which, if we can go back to live, Wayne Walker has comfortably jumped Kenneth Latter. Troy Stonestreet's got out ahead of Dean Logsdale. That is a big old gap that has been found then by those stops, and what a stop there for Wayne Walker. Brilliant in his Simon Haynes for his final stop at 3.6 seconds on 1 lap's difference. Well, there's the difference maker, 2.3 seconds less in the box.
Yeah, a faster pit stop combined with pitting a lap earlier. The undercut is incredibly powerful in these cars. The tyres are at their best the moment they are bolted onto the car. So taking good advantage of it was Wayne Walker. I still don't think he's going to be in any chance to contend for victory. But he'll at least be able to get a podium out of this one if he nails the rest of it. Meanwhile, okay. I think that's the reason why Brad Doble got the black flag. He entered the track too early. You're supposed to turn after the cones.
Yeah, easily done. I think Dean Flavel falls for the same issue, so you'll see it here. Perfect blimp view of it here. And yeah, you just cut the corner. And so you're not going to be able to do that. Now, Dean Flavel, is this going to be the same story where he's just going to try and get out? Yeah, he's over there, over 50%, over that inside orange cone. And so that is the difference maker between yes, you can, and no, you can't. You're coming back in, mate.
Yeah, you can also tell by the color of the lines. A yellow line underneath those traffic cones transforms to a white line once they end, and that's another visual clue as to when you're allowed to re-enter the circuit. Well, Sean McNamara has jumped into pit lane, and his stop is still ongoing here. Look at the live track map to see exactly where everybody is. Yeah, very long stop for Sean McNamara, 33 seconds in the box.
Here comes Wayne.
Makes me wonder.
Here comes Wayne. Here comes Wayne into turn 1. Suddenly, this is a race on for second place. McNamara has had such a long stop that Wayne Walker's driven himself back into contention here.
That's incredible. Wayne Walker has had an excellent second pit cycle here. An incredible in-lap, great pit stop, and a super fast out-lap as well. A 2:04.6. That's only 3/10 off the fastest lap of the race from Jordan Ross.
Compare it to Kenneth Latter, it's 5 seconds. Compare it to Wayne Walker, it's 7 or 8 seconds difference. Look at that, 7.4 seconds difference on box time. That is massive for Wayne Walker. Now he's just got to try and claw it down in under a second. If he can fuel save off the back of McNamara.
Yeah, I'm going back to take a look at McNamara's pit stop. He didn't overshoot it. It was a very simple stop in the end, but I think he was just stopped for longer. He needed to put more fuel in the car, evidently, or maybe he miscalculated. Bit of a mystery at the moment.
Well, the one driver who will note this is Jordan Ross. He will look at the black box relative as he goes through the group of drivers behind, and he'll realise very, very quickly that Sean McNamara here is a lot closer to Wayne Walker than he thought was possible. So now in this stop, he'll either think that Wayne's had a blinder or Sean's had a pretty poor stop by comparison. So keep an eye out on the numbers here. You're looking for somewhere around 25 seconds for Jordan Ross to have a comfortable margin out there in front. It also goes to show how hard McNamara had to push by comparison to Jordan Ross out there. 17, 18, we're at 20 seconds and starting to gain on up to that higher level. 24 seconds now, 25. This is also long by Jordan Ross. Now he pulls off 28.8 seconds. He's going to have a very cushy margin here as he will now exit in towards turn number 1. Mind the cone, perfect as he rejoins circuit. He's got a gap.
Very nicely done from Jordan Ross. He had a bit more of a margin to play with thanks to the abnormally long stop from Sean McNamara. Now he can just cruise out in the lead here. 3 seconds is the gap as he gets back up to speed.
Yeah, and another driver who's yet to stop, Chad Lewis, who is still out there. He's just dropped 2 to Dan Hall and to John Gallen. So those are moves that have been happening here. So those stops to him, both him and Tim Mulford, I think are going to be running on fumes here towards the end of this race. We are going to be, when we next cross the line, down to 15 laps to go. And surely they'll be staring down at the gauges going, is this thing still working?
Yeah, potentially the fuel light's going to be coming on in a few of these cars. You also got to think about tyre life as well. Remember that about 10 or 15 laps at most racetracks is how long the tyres last at their best pace level before the pace starts dropping off. In that case, Jordan Ross has nailed this one with 16 laps still remaining in the running. That should be just enough for him to maximise his tyres over the stint. Everyone else, though, particularly those like Wayne Walker, who pitted early, they're going to be struggling in the final laps.
Lord Mackay's just got onto race control, so can you have a look at it for me? I haven't been able to see exactly what he's been with, but Lord is not a happy bunny at the moment here as he sits down in pit lane for his final stop of the day. Dan Hall, who started this race in 11th place, is currently in 11th place, but they are still waiting for Tim Mulford's stop here to bring this one home and dry. He is doing a good job here in 7th position. He was been trying to hang this one out late for a quick safety car, but he's not getting anything he wants here out of it. And unfortunately, this is going to be where Tim is going to start dropping back down the order the other way.
Yeah, that's the downside of running a slightly off strategy, whether you were forced into it or otherwise. The downside of pit entry here at Sebring is the reason why Lorne Mackay was making that call to race control. He was in a 3-car fight with Matt Brunt and Ray Smith, and as he slowed down for pit lane, right at the apex of Sunset Bend, Matt Brunt tagged him.
And with a tag like that, you just have to turn around and say, well, how did you communicate to the drivers around you that you were heading to pit lane? If everyone's taking the tight line coming down into pit, it's so easy to have a tag as you go through this section. Now, Lorne here, he's not really indicating that he's going down into pit lane. You can see he's just trying to get that slowed in to keep that line. Brunt's not seen it, and that miscommunication so often happens here at Sebring.
Yeah, easy to do. It's a really difficult line through Sunset Bend in any case. And, well, Matt Brunt, probably muscle memory taking over there, got on the power as Mackay was still on the brakes, trying to just get the car rotated for the best run into pit lane.
Yeah, so Brunt will look at that and go, well, I did try to get out of it, but he didn't really give me much out there to work with. There wasn't even a pitting in or anything else that said I could go and make that call and say I can predict around it. But for the moment, Tim Mulford, he's now going to be under pressure from Luke Ullman on that last lap. The difference was 1.2 seconds. I don't think this is going to take too long here for Luke to dispatch of Tim, but Tim really fighting for grip off the exit with the rear tyres, and it's the rears that are proving to be the toughest around here. All these medium speed corners need grip out the exit of the corners. It's the rears that you'll be churning through before you're going to churn through the fronts.
Yeah, 600 plus horsepower going through both rear wheels at the same rate in these things. Very easy to overcook the rears. Look at that fastest lap from Jordan Ross, by the way, down to a 2:04.2 for ultimate race pace. He is flying out the front. Mulford not flying right at the end of his stint here. I think 27 laps is about the maximum that you'd be able to go, and the tyres certainly aren't enjoying it either. No surprise to see, well, hang on a minute, I thought for a second Mulford was going to come into the lane, but apparently he's going to be staying out another lap.
He got you there, Reese. He certainly sold you on that. So Tim Mulford is still on that ability to hang it out. In has come Chad Lewis, side by side now between Christian Smart and Michael Stewart towards turn number 1 now there will be. So there's going to be some brilliant racing going on just inside that top 15. And it looks like as this gap battle continues to hold itself close, that the move has been made by Christian Smart to get exactly what he wants from it. But now watch out for that hotel hairpin, because Tim Mulford here, he's on the outside, he's taking a wider track to try and give himself less turn-in that he can into this section. And Luke's not going to bite here, but he is pretty much nipping at the heels.
Yeah, it looks like every single corner exit, Mulford is struggling to put the power down. You've got to be so smooth in these things. Basically act like there's an egg underneath your throttle pedal. It's not going to be enough for Mulford. He'll have to let Allman go here. Only 6 laps completed on those tyres for Luke Allman. Mulford trying to fight back there on acceleration. So evidently there is still some grip left in the rears, but not quite enough.
Nope, and so for Luke Allman, a comfortable dispatching of the pass and puts him to +3 for his day today, and I think he's driven a very acute race in terms of what he's been looking to navigate through, as he will now pilot it in through the fast right there of Jean de Bienne, still doing 150 kilometers an hour. You're down to just 105 in through Le Mans, and that long reach along the Alban Straight on what was one of the old runways here around this circuit. Gaps now forming quite equidistant, actually, it has to be said, at the front. It's a 4-second gap over a 3.5 over a 3.5. They couldn't get more even if they tried here.
Yeah, McNamara, despite the long stop, has wasted no time getting up to speed. Finally, Mulford comes into pit lane, and it looks like that's going to be the field cleansed. Everyone has completed the required number of stops here. Mulford obviously pitting under the safety car as well to try and gain some track position early on. We'll see if it's worked out for him here. Shouldn't be too long of a stop for him, only 13 laps remaining, so it'll only be a short fill for him, and he'll have very fresh tyres to take advantage of. Simon Haynes and Jason Spriggs fighting over 16th and 17th, side by side on the exit of turn 1. Haynes is going to continue this defense here, but Jason Spriggs is looking racy.
He is, but so much lean in the car through turn 3. He just can't get the power down for 4 and 5, and Simon Haynes stays at +15 for the day. This is driver of the day numbers we're seeing out here from Simon, as he'll be looking to battle, I would say, Christian Smart for driver of the day. If Smart can hold behind him Michael Stewart and Justin McLean between now and the end of this race, Christian Smart's my driver of the day. Otherwise, I think it's Simon Haynes, the way that he's been driving, but they've both got the mercurial Logan Barnett behind.
That they have. Barnett edging ever closer to equalising his starting position here. Still down a few spots from where he'd ideally like to be, but he's wasting no time getting the power down out of Cunningham and through Collier. Keeps it nice and smooth. Yeah, I would agree. It's between Christian Smart and Simon Haynes for me for driver of the day. Turned out to be quite a good decision from Simon Haynes to stay out that extra lap under safety car. It's netted him a great amount of positions, but he's going to lose one of them there to Spriggs.
Yeah, nothing he can do there. Door was left open. Car's wide in front, though. That's Travis Hunt, who's going to have a slowdown penalty there to get himself then back into this group. So suddenly they've got a carrot to chase there in front with Jason Spriggs. So not the end of the world. Barnett again kicks the tail out as he works on through. And you're starting to see a little bit of a haze then as they work themselves down the straight. So it's getting a little bit cloudy out there as the work is done. There is Travis Hunt at the moment, and he's just trying to bring this one back into play there, having to fight with a correction, the wheel going straight. You never want to see a steering wheel straight when you're going through a very, very hard right-hand corner.
Yeah, quite difficult. Sebring, a famously brutal track. Racing for 12 hours around this place really takes it out of you, but you only need a couple of hours that these drivers are going to be spending driving around here today to just get a taste of that. Hunt is now back up to pace somewhat after serving his slowdown. Still up 5 positions from where he started. That's a good run for him. But can he maintain the pace is the question. He is the car with the oldest tyres in this pack. Completed 11 laps so far. Compare that to 8 laps for Spriggs, 6 for Haynes, and 7 laps for Barnett. They should all have an advantage over him here.
Yep, so this is just a case of can you stem the bleeding. Travis Hunt up 5 here in this one, and will be certainly staring at the fact that this is going to be one of the toughest days that he will have of racing. Justin McLean still stuck behind Michael Stewart, and Stewart here starting to lose contact with Christian Smart, who has been driving a really accomplished race in the 999 machine, and this is from a position of 27th on the grid. It's very tough to make these places up here in this, and lest we forget as well, these drivers, they have to fight really hard to get into races like these. There's 4 splits of V8 veterans.
Yeah, all running pretty much concurrently with this one, so there's plenty of potential to work your way up, but it's a really hard fight to do, and this is only the top split. There's so many other drivers that are competing in this championship. Stewart now sees Justin McLean pull out to the right-hand side, and that is the inside line for Sunset Bend. Stewart running incredibly wide there. I think he decided into the corner he was going to give that one up. Not much point fighting Justin McLean, who's clearly looking to make a charge of things.
Yeah, you could have parked 1,000 buses in that gap there in the corner of 1,004 lines. Michael Stewart wasn't going to fight that against Justin McLean. And why would he? They're 295 teammates going for it. Hunt then just trying to pinch his line. It was a little cheeky search by Jason Spriggs to get it done at turn 1. He's not going to find a line here at turn 3. He'll try and set up 7 as the best place next. The Hotel Hairpin through 3, 4, now into turn 5. Get the drive out of here and you've got the chance at 7. It's okay, not good enough for a move in my view.
Yeah, he's going to have to wait another couple of corners to have another run at things. Honestly, the recovery from Spriggs has been quite impressive. Remember, one of the first times we saw him in this race, he had run into the end of the pit wall and had massive damage, but still had his fast repair in hand, got that done nicely, and now finds himself 6 places up from where he started. Poor exit from the hairpin, though. Travis Hunt is going to have a tiny bit more breathing room in the short term.
Yeah, short-term gain, and will it be long-term pain by comparison? Here as Jason now has to just keep himself steady, not overcommit with Haynes and Barnett on the back. You've just got to hold your marks and hit them with not really any form of concern out there at this stage. It's that sort of day today where you're looking around and you are hoping that you are just going to pull off a wonderful result. But I would argue that at this moment in time, you are thinking about that count back. If you've got 1 lap of reprieve, that's great, but ideally you want about 5 on any sort of gap that you've got. You've got to try and build on these margins here, and you've not got long to do it.
Yep, we're within 10 laps to go now. Our leaders crossing the line to start the 41st lap. Move a little bit further up here to John Gallen and Dan Hall. They've got Luke Orman up ahead of them, and Chris Burridge too, separated by a few seconds now after the pass was recently made between them. But Dan Hall is on the charge here. A pretty similar tyre life from these two. 9 laps in for John Gallen, 10 laps in for Dan Hall, but evidently the ERT 462 is carrying a little bit more pace here. Barely anything separating them on the last lap though. Dan Hall was only 200 slower than Gallen.
Yeah, so John is really holding this mark quite nicely, but you're sort of talking about it. There was a full second on the last lap. It's a 10th for fastest lap here. So Gallen is eyeing up the fact that Chris Burridge is the car in front. He's only 2 seconds down the road, and he was also in the 206s. So John had a pretty bad lap that last lap. He's just got to forget it and go again. And most of that time was lost in the first sector on that last go around.
Yeah, looks like it. I do need to get my observational skills up to speed. I didn't see 207 and 206. I was only looking at the less than a second decimal places between those drivers. Yeah, Dan Hall is clearly carrying a ton of pace here. Got to wait and see where he's going to try and pull off the move. Again, we see a little chatter from the rears on the exit of Tower Turn. It's so tempting to put the power down there because you think the corner's going to be a lot wider on the exit than it is. You need every extra kilometre per hour you can manage for a good run into Jean-de-Bienne and Le Mans. Dan Hall gains another 2/10 there on John Gallen. We will see in Sector 2 a little bit of that gap brought back. Clearly, it's looking like Dan Hall is quickest in these sectors that are slightly twistier.
Yeah, so when you've got to use the tyre, that's where Dan Hall is proving that he can bring this one closer, and he's so much more aggressive into Sunset Bend. He just ate into that margin then on entry. Gallen will get a better run off of the exit, so there will be no move into turn 1, but he absolutely stole his lunch money for corner speed as he went through. He'll be technically slightly slower on that last lap by comparison, but I would look around and say John Gallen might be on borrowed time, especially with Jeff Thomas and Christian Smart also trying to lean themselves in here. This could be something where John Gallen is going to have to face the crowd and face the music in the final 9 laps of this race.
Yeah, Gallen, you'd argue, slightly out of position, 6 places up. Compare that to Dan Hall and Jeff Thomas, who have only gained 1 position on their starting spot. So Gallen, through some pit stop shenanigans and taking advantage of mistakes from those around him, has found himself a bit further up than maybe he expected. We'll have to wait and see how long he can hold on here. An impressive lap from Dan Hall in the last lap there, at least in the last 2 sectors. He managed to gain back all of the time that he lost in Sector 1.
Take a look then at these 2 drivers, like trying to push themselves into the corner. John Gallen on the left and Dan Hall there on the right, and you can see how much Dan is having to fight through the Collier corner and over towards Tower. This is a section of road where you're just trying to hold yourself steady. Don't do anything too difficult. That's all over the show from Jeff Thomas there. He has pretty much burnt all the rubber up.
Yeah, there's nothing left in those tyres for Jeff Thomas, and Christian Smart's going to take advantage of that, move a little bit closer. It seems like Dan Hall may be struggling for a bit of consistency here in the last few laps. I've seen that gap ebb and flow. This time last lap, he was almost right on the back of John Gallen, but he's fallen back in Sector 2 this time. Interesting to see. Maybe those tyres are starting to give up for Dan.
I wonder whether Dan's just not able to find a flow in front of John Gallen, so he can take a line that he knows is comfortable, but he's not as comfortable running behind John Gallen, who might be driving in a style that is slightly difficult to keep himself in mind. He's a little bit, I would say, inquisitive at the moment, is Dan Hall right now. He's just trying to think, right, where am I going to get this done? Where am I going to find this? And he's going right up to the wall there through turn 1. He is really trying to open it up. As behind, Christian Smart's got his eyes set on Jeff Thomas now, and they are nose to tail as well. So this is going to be a case of I've got to get it done pretty quick here from Christian Smart behind this group, because they'll also have Justin McLean, and McLean could pretty much take the lot if he wanted.
Yeah, just keeping an eye on the lap times there. Justin McLean's last lap, a 2:05.7. Smart with a 2:05.9. Jeff Thomas, a 2:06.8. And it's low 2:06s here for Gallen and Hall. Still 7 laps remaining. If Justin McLean keeps up that kind of pace, surely he'll be able to get by Thomas and Smart if he plays his cards right. But John Gallen and Dan Hall might be a little bit more difficult to do. But we're almost at the point now where we can get all 5 cars in the same frame.
Almost, but there you go. There's 5 in the same frame, just about. But Tim Mulford is going to have a little bit more of a stop. I wonder if something's happened to him out there that he needs to come in a little bit more. So he's found himself in trouble out there on circuit. Now, Hall's had a huge slide now coming out of the Tower turn. It's catching these drivers out right now that the later on you go, fatigue value sets in. He just grabbed grass on entry and had to go sliding through the corner.
Yeah, crucial time loss there for Dan Hall. Breathing room for John Gallen. I think he can relax a little bit there now that the gap is out to 1.7 seconds between them. And Dan Hall will have to start looking in his mirrors, because here comes Jeff Thomas, Christian Smart, and Justin McLean. This is the highest real battle on the circuit at the moment. Rest of our top 10 are separated by more than a second apiece. Sometimes the gap's up to 5 seconds between cars.
Yeah, it's huge, and for example, Luke Ullman 17 seconds behind Dean Logsdale. That tells you a story in and of itself. Top 6 broke away from everyone else today as Hall has himself gap and measured metric in towards turn number 1. They'll eye up 3, and this is where you're just trying to hit your marks here. 3, 4, and 5. They come at you pretty quickly, and it's very good flow actually for a circuit to have a section like this. Into 3, into 4, into 5. It sets yourself up, and you can breathe out of turn 5 and go, right, first sector of the lap done. And this is what you get. You get profiles of corners which are pretty slow, and you get one corner here and one corner there, and then you get a flurry, and it makes you think, and you realise you can set up the lap. A little look to the inside from Jeff Thomas, just trying to get in the mirrors, and just behind there's the WKMP car then of Jason Spriggs, who's got Simon Haynes that he wants to try and get through, because through on Simon Haynes has been Logan Barnett.
Yeah, and actually in just the last few moments, Spriggs lost the position to both Barnett and Haynes. There was a problem for Jason Spriggs, potentially a slide out of Sunset Bend, considering where they are now and how long ago I saw those positions change. No, in fact, it looks like it was out of turn 3. Spriggs trying to find his way past Travis Hunt, and that's a very weird incident there.
I think he's just caught too much curb there. Bounced up over the top of it. He's had a bit of argument then as he's gone through the corner and he's lost out. That's just where we caught coverage. But ultimately, if you're going to kick it up onto 2 wheels, you've got to hope you've got the grip underneath you, and that was the trouble. This is what happened to Tim Mulford here in his retirement from the race. So you can see he just overcooks it into the corner, misses out, boink, into the barriers there at Sunset Bend, was able to pull himself out of it and then drive it back to pit. So no need for a late safety car. But that just tells you how hard they are all having to race here in the final stages and deal with what they've got. Now here comes the attempt to try and get this move back then for Jason Spriggs, and he will look around at it and say, yep, I've got that one done on Simon Haynes. Thank you very much. Getting really busy here for Jeff Thomas. Just in front of that though, because this group suddenly is going to have to check itself through turn 1. Really fighting Dan Hall with a very aggressive entry. It might leave Thomas vulnerable to Smart, who was, well, smart about it, didn't have to go and make that move. They're checking each other up now.
Huge pace drop-off from Dan Hall in the last couple of laps. Still running pretty equal with John Gallen on pace, but Thomas, Smart, and McLean all ran mid-206 or faster. Half a second gained by Christian Smart and Justin McLean on Dan Hall on the previous lap, and there's going to be half an attempt, potentially, from Justin McLean, but Christian Smart covered him, probably half thinking about getting his way past Jeff Thomas too, and he will get him on acceleration out of the hairpin.
Yeah, Thomas went in too deep, couldn't really engage a gear, and because of that, stuck in the low revs, he can't get any drive. And Justin McLean, who thought, oh, this is perfect, I've now got a great chance to go and get this move done, he can't get there. 16 of the best moves from 999 Christian Smart.
Brilliant job from Christian Smart to move his way up like that, and he could be on for a top 10 here if he can catch back up to Dan Hall. Considering the lack of consistency we've been seeing from Hall recently, it's certainly a possibility. Whether or not Justin McLean can find his way past Jeff Thomas is still up for debate. And it's all going to be about the exit from Le Mans curve here, and it looks like a bit of a wide run from Jeff Thomas out of Jean de Bienne. Looks like a little bit more of a move coming here. Now he's well in the slipstream, but we're going to be seeing it here from McLean.
Yeah, this is the move he's been looking for. McLean wants the angle on Jeff Thomas. He's going to have to go the long way around to get this done at Sunset Bend. Not impossible, but improbable. Almost catching the left rear quarter panel there going through. Now he's having to fight. This is where understeer starts to kick in, and he won't be able to get the drive as they go through. Hi, Barney. What a great battle you'll get to watch as they now look over towards turn number 1 once again. Jeff Thomas has been holding on strongly here, and Justin McLean, I think this has been the story of the end of his race. He just hasn't been able to get those places. He's down 6. He's had the pace to get by everyone. He just hasn't had the positioning.
Yeah, positioning is so important at Sebring. You can see from these aerial views how much the track width varies. It's incredibly narrow through turns 4 and 5. Then it starts widening back up here through Big Bend, and so there's more space to put yourself alongside. But the way this track flows, the way these cars drive, you've got to try and set it up. And that's going to be a bit of a desperate lunge there from Justin McLean. He hooks up the power on the exit. Jeff Thomas starting to come back at him through Fangio.
It's a good dive down the inside. Sometimes they do pay off, but Jeff's got no grip on the outside. He tries to chuck it on the brakes, but I think the tyres are just yelling uncle at the moment for Jeff Thomas, and he can't really do too much at this moment. He will realise that this is a tough moment in his race, and he will start dropping back down the order. Justin McLean now up to 12th, and he is out of time, you'd feel, to catch back up to Christian Smart. He's got 5 laps to get the move on.
And looking at how old Justin McLean's tyres are, I don't see it happening unless there's a mistake for someone ahead, because, well, Justin McLean is on his 22nd lap on these tyres. Everyone around him, 15, maybe 16 laps done.
Yep, so a big difference there in terms of the laps that they have done on tyres. You can see their stint gap on the tyres, and the longest one of all of them is Chris Burridge right now, 19 laps. He was forced into that decision of having to make it happen. Well, actually, I'll correct myself, McLean on 21, another driver who is in the same boat race because of the contact he had front to rear through the final corner. So it is proving to be tough. Those drivers who have had no choice but to come in, take that fast repair and make this race work for them. Now is the time where they are going to start to struggle.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing a few more wiggles on acceleration here all throughout the field. You're not really driving with mind of extending a stint now. You're not trying to look after the tyres to make sure you have something to fight with at the end. You're at the end now. You're giving it everything you've got, and it becomes all the more easy to overstep. Back to my point about how the rears burn up earlier, you know, you slide once, that overheats the rears. That makes the car slide more. That overheats the rears even more. It's a self-reinforcing cycle that is so difficult to break out of.
Yeah, and it's the game of diminishing returns, isn't it? Once the tyres start to give up, you can put more effort in to get something out of them, and they give up more. So you have to just baby them through the early part to give you something to work with later on. Simon Haynes hasn't given up against Jason Spriggs, but Spriggsy here has just done everything possible to hold his ground, and he's done well, actually, to keep that gap at 0.6 of a second. He's not dropping too much.
Yeah, it looks all right at the moment for Simon Haynes. At the very least, he'll be able to hold on to 18th and end up gaining 14 positions over the course of this race. Still quite an impressive run. What's really striking me in these late afternoon conditions, seeing the track in this light, just how much rubber has been laid down around this place. You're at the point now where that curb on the exit of Tower Turn there, you can barely see the stripes. There's so much rubber been laid down.
That they've really been putting it down. They know how much they've had to be working on this, being aggressive with what they've needed to. This is back in 22nd position, and even these drivers still try to fight for something. Brad Doble, Matt Brunt, Ray Smith, they're all still going at it, and these are the minor points that you start looking at, picking up and going, well, it's the old adage of every little point will help you get over the line. And so Ray Smith will take a look at that and say, well, I'd like a couple places, but it's not easy late right now. This is just, can I bring it home late?
Yeah, it's worth doing your best to stay in touch with the car in front, though, because it's so easy to make mistakes in these cars. One little wiggle on acceleration, one missed braking point, and he'll be right in it and be able to regain his starting spot at 23rd. Checking in with Greg Sharp and Dean Flavell, two drivers that we haven't paid much attention to tonight. The action has mostly been elsewhere, but it's some varying fortunes between those two. Greg Sharp up 6 places, Dean Flavell down 1. Now the fight is back on here for 9th place. Dan Hall has managed to catch back up to him, and Christian Smart has followed him.
John Gallen, the driver who is under the cosh at the moment, knowing that Hall and Smart are looking to try and put themselves in a place where they can say, look, I am very happy with the way that I have driven, but these places are still there. It's shallow off the exit by Dan Hall, and this is where you start wondering, do I have enough turning? What happens if I put a little bit too much in and the rear steps out? You're starting to second guess your driving instinct at this point, not consciously, but subconsciously now as they go through Jean de Bienne, looking to set up this Le Mans section. Gallen gets a good run and Dan Hall just doesn't. He has to fight through the corner. Look at this, Christian Smart also picking up a bucket of oversteer.
Yeah, it was hot into the corner, tried to pick up the power to get some rotation going, but it's a vicious temptation there, because all you're going to do is slide the rear and overheat those tires. Full concentration for Christian Smart there, straightens up the wheel nicely, coming out of Sunset Bend, uses the throttle to finish rotating the car on the way out. 2 laps to go for these guys, and now it's going to be on. Gallen's lap time, a 2:06.2. Same for Dan Hall, 2:06.4 for Christian Smart, but Justin McLean behind them set a 2:05.7. He's starting to get in touch with them here.
Yeah, and he'll know that if he's got any chance of making a move, he'll go at the earliest available opportunity. They've got to try and keep him at bay behind. This is for a top 10 for these. 2 will get in, 2 will get out. Unfortunately, there will be 2 brides and 2 bridesmaids in terms of this battle that we've got going on. And John Gallen, every time out of the exits of the corners, he runs away.
Yeah, he's been doing the right thing there, sacrificing a bit of corner entry to straighten the car up earlier on the way out and put those rears through as little trauma as he can. It's going to be tight here. One more 6-kilometer tour of Sebring International Raceway is beckoning for these guys. They have to get to the end of the lap first, though. Look at the difference in apex speed there between Gallen and Hall, and right there is where you see Gallen's advantage. Yes, he was slower at the apex, but he was able to pick up the throttle much more smoothly.
White flag lap starts then for Jordan Ross with a 6.3 second margin over Sean McNamara. Our focus is here on the battle for the top 10 as it stands, with Dan Hall now falling further into the clutches of Christian Smart, and now Justin McLean, who's bringing himself to the party. John Gallen just giving himself enough to extend then, and out onto Ullman. Once again they'll go for what will be their penultimate time. The gap's just extending out and making life just a little bit tougher to go and gain those spots. So Smart here having to think about, well, it is going to have to be the final lap if I want through. Dan has really got to open it up. The big shallow line being taken then through Sunset, and Ray Smith in trouble with damage with just a lap to go. He can limp it back. No, he can't, not with a suspension that is broken on the front right like that and pointed over to the right hand side. That's a real shame to see so late on in a race for Ray, who now finds himself practically out, but he will still score the points. Big slide going through by Dan Hall, really having to commit into each and every single corner. They'll now start to work through turns 3, 4 and 5, and it might be the hotel hairpin if Christian Smart can line it up. He's a little bit too close on entry. That's going to drop him a bit of time, but now here comes the run that will set up the chance to go and make this happen over towards the hotel hairpin. Is there going to be a lunch from anyone down here? No, your patience card is going to have to prevail a little bit later on. Now entering onto the Ullman Straight for the final time is car 143, Mr. All-Encompassing here in a race like this, Mr. Impossible to catch on a day like this, as there's going to be no move at Cunningham from all 4 of these drivers. At Sunset, you can say it now, Ross running rampant today. He wins here at Sebring, and he sends the message to Wayne Walker, back to back, I am still here and I will not let go of my championship. McNamara second.
And it ends up being a dominant margin for Ross in the end. Nearly 8 seconds that he had over McNamara at the checkered flag. Walker crosses the line for third, and Kenneth Latter's going to finish a strong P4. Lovely, consistent drive from him. Stone Street rounding out the top 5. That's an impressive drive. He gained 3 spots there, and Logsdale finishes where he started in 6th. We still got this battle to work out, though. Christian Smart will be trying his best to get the slipstream on Dan Hall, but Justin McLean is now a spanner in the works. John Gallen in 9th place is going to lead the way into Sunset Bend, and it looks like that might just do it. All he needs to do is put the power down, and he will end the mother of all defensive drives here. Gets 9th, and what a fantastic battle pack that was. Christian Smart just missing out on getting into the top 10, but I think he's done enough to give himself the Driver of the Day award. Still, full credit to John Gallen, though. He had the hardest job of all there.
Yeah, they are battling all the way forward, and a look there at John Gallen, who has done really well to hold it as he has his sim rig right in front of his motorbike there, so he's going to be quite good. Dean Flavell and Greg Sharp, they're not giving this one up either, but Greg, I think, got the brakes compared to Dean, but Dean's got a chance to throw it maybe halfway down the inside through the final corner, couldn't quite get alongside enough to start leaning, and so that'll be Greg Sharp ahead then of Dean Flavell, and then Ray Smith will be the last car to the line. He is limping home with the damage. He has driven this one, Reese. Give some credit actually to Ray. A lap and a half on a damaged front, the suspension caving and sparking there on the front right.
Well, and it looks like the front bumper is deciding whether or not to hang on either. This is a really rough one for Ray Smith. The car falling apart on him as he comes around to finish the race. And Ray Smith also joins us on Zoom. It's all he can do to bring it to the line. Yep, out of fuel. He's going to crawl. Let's hope that he can get it on the starter motor and try his best to get it across the line here. He's laughing. He's laughing.
He knows he's short. And now he realises my race is not going to be finished. I can only sit it there, agonising as he just sits to the entrance of this finish. And he's going to look around and maybe ask Jordan Ross, can somebody give me a push? I'm not quite home.
All you can do is laugh at that point. He's the last car on track as well. No one else is going to come around to push him here. Actually, I do see some cars still rolling. Maybe Stone Street can give him a hand.
Or he's going to be, he is going to be classified a lap down. So that'll be that then. They will call it there because Ray Smith can't get it over. He will be classed as a lap down as he did all bar about 300 meters there of this Sebring circuit. A real shame there, but just the way it sometimes goes. Let's get confirmation of result then here from Sebring here on SimSpeed TV for your V8 Veterans Championship, the longest round of the championship here, round number 7. And Jordan Ross is sending a message to Wayne Walker with that win, back-to-back, with a near 8-second margin over the line over Sean McNamara. Third belonging to Wayne Walker with Kenneth Latter in 4th position. Troy Stone Street and Dean Logsdale 5th and 6th, and 2 very good drives for the pair of them, with Luke Ullman in 7th ahead of Chris Burridge. John Gallen having to play defensive late as the top 10 would be rounded out by Dan Hall there, having to do everything he could. A gain of 16 for Christian Smart as he finishes in 11th, with Justin McLean in 12th trying to recover back after an early spin. Jeff Thomas would be 13th ahead of Michael Stewart, and Travis Hunt, who had a stop which had less fuel than others, would get 15th. Early spin for Logan Barnett would drop him down to 16th ahead of Jason Spriggs and Simon Haynes, with David Nash in 19th and Wayne Sanderson rounding out your top 20. Over the page then to the final page, where Jim Caparonis and Brad Doble are still in the leading lap, as is Matt Brunt, Greg Sharp, Dean Flavell and Chad Lewis. Just agonisingly 1 lap down will be Ray Smith, who just couldn't find himself home with the damage on the car, as Lorne Mackay would be 28th. Paul Young, whose engine blew up in the early stages, from 4th position, sent out the safety car here in this race. Tim Mulford would retire this one 8 laps down, and then the other retiree being Sean Vondermeulen, Jamie McKnight, a non-starter here for racing action around at Sebring. We are going to get the chance then to talk to some of our drivers. Your race winner is stood by with Reese Gardner right now, and that is the 143 of Jordan Ross.
Fantastic drive, Jordan. This is one of the rounds where you needed to start hitting back at Wayne Walker, and he was vocal that he wasn't that confident here at Sebring. You managed to grab pole position, and it was almost a lights to flag victory were it not for the thorn in your side named Sean McNamara. How was it for you?
Hey, Reese. Yeah, Sean was really fast all night. It was really good racing with him. Always enjoy racing with him. We can bang doors and have a bit of a laugh. So, but yeah, we were just sort of, giving each other a turn at the front, and it was sort of like when you're in front, you'd tear your car up with the tyres and stuff. So, whoever was behind sort of was able to save their car and save a bit of fuel. So we took a few turns and. But yeah, I think in that first stop, maybe Sean didn't take enough fuel. I took a little bit more than him, and that was the difference in the end. But otherwise, we're pretty equal.
Yeah, you managed to gain a gap of nearly 8 seconds, though, in the final stint. It looked like some metronomic consistency from you out there. Just those final laps with the sun setting, the track temperature gradually decreasing. It looked like perfect hot lapping conditions out there.
Yeah, it's one of my favourite tracks, Sebring, and yeah, definitely at the end of a long race like this, when there's heaps of rubber down, it's there's plenty of grip out there, and I wasn't sure if I had enough fuel in the tank. So when I come out from my last stop, I probably didn't take enough to go flat out all the way to the end. So I had to save for probably 5 or 8 laps or something, and then I was able to I was safe enough and was able to get going towards the end. It's super fun when you can do that.
Well, you're going to be having a lot of fun and spending a lot of time turning next round at Suzuka. A shorter race, but it's a track where it's very hard to pass. So I'm sure you'll be focusing a lot on qualifying and making sure you start up the front.
Yeah, Suzuka's not this going from Sebring, one of my favourite tracks, to Suzuka, one of my most. I don't really like that track, but we'll do a few laps this week and get it dialed in and see how we go. Wayne will be back next week, and Sean will be cook again. Disappointed for Paul tonight. Paul Young, he heard he blew an engine early in the race, and he was having a really good run tonight. So hopefully he can have a good week and bounce back next week as well.
Well, before we let you go, Jordan, back on top once again. Anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Just all the broadcast guys at SimSpeed, and obviously all the organisers and everyone over at Vets for putting this on each week, and all the competitors turning up. It's a really enjoyable series, and yeah, bring on next week. See you guys. Thanks.
Congratulations from all of us here in the booth to Jordan Ross, our race winner. And with that, Sperry, I think it's time to have a chat to the runner-up, Sean McNamara.
Yeah, Sean, today the pace was certainly there in margin. There's not really anything you could argue about with that, but it all comes down to that final stop. What happened?
That was the first stop. Saying to the boys, I meant to hit full tank on the old button box, and I hit 80 litres, and it short-filled me by about 8-9 litres. So that's what cost me. I was about 4 seconds short on fuel on that first one, and I was pretty upset with myself, to be honest with you, because you can't give that margin away. And yeah, Jordan came out that 3-4 seconds ahead on fresher tyres. So it's a real shame, because I think it would have been a really good race to the finish. But it's what it is. Can't change it. Still happy with the P2.
For you, it's been a season where you're sort of fighting on the back foot. You used all your drop rounds, round 1, round 2. So in order to put yourself up in the championship, you are having to be nearly faultless in every single round. The consistency value's there, but you know, sort of looking at the way that Wayne and Jordan have just played roughshod with the way that victories have gone this season, are you eyeing this one up as, okay, I'm happy with top 3?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's 5 or 6 guys that could win in any given week, really, and it's just like you just said. It's about getting the 1%ers right, and yeah, if you're on the podium, you're happy. But tonight, I'm not happy with P2. I really felt like I had something for Jordan there, and yeah, you always want the win, but yeah, I feel like I just let myself down and the boys down tonight, the team, and yeah, it is what it is. But P2 is still a good result, and yeah, you're right. I'm 2 drop rounds down already, so yeah, need to do everything right.
Do you think you'll be able to get everything right when it comes to Suzuka? How do you think you go there over 200 kilometres?
Look, not a big fan of Suzuka, but sort of learnt a bit tonight, 300Ks tonight, just a couple of little things that I guess these sorts of flowy tracks 300Ks, you get to fine-tune yourself a little bit. So, yeah, we'll see how we go. I'm 50-50 on making it. I hope I can make it. But yeah, I think it'll be a good race, and yeah, we'll see how it pans out.
Well, we hope you make it too, and a nice little look there. I believe it's your cat that's just walked in behind you as well.
Oh,
so.
he's pretty good at this at the moment. So, yeah, it is. Yeah.
Trained.
He made an appearance. Made an appearance last week as well. He keeps opening the door. But yeah, thank you.
Not a problem. Sean McNamara and et al. Joining with a second place finish then here today. Reese has walked down the virtual paddock and he has found the championship leader, Wayne Walker.
Yes, keeping the top results consistent is very crucial at this middle stage of the season, Wayne. You are already on record as saying you weren't expecting the best out of Sebring, but a P3 is still exactly what you would be looking for.
Yeah, it's you know, tonight it's probably the best I could have done. I've like every time we've been to this track, I've sort of struggled to sort of keep up with Jordan and Sean. So yeah, I think tonight third was the best I could do, and you know, for the championship I couldn't afford to bin it or anything. So yeah, I'm still happy with third place for sure. Yep.
Tiny dose of luck on one occasion with Paul Young blowing his engine ahead of you, and you're involved in a fight with Kenneth Latter for the majority of the race there. Did you think that there was anything different you could have done on the strategy to gain more?
No, I that whole second stint, I pretty much wanted to sit behind Ken and just fuel save, so that then, you know, the second pit stop I could jump him in the pits, which worked, and then it was just a matter of sort of holding him off till the end, and he was getting closer, but yeah, I was able to hold on. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else I could have done any different. I think the result would have been the same, I think.
Well, next round circuit doesn't seem to have many fans from us talking to Jordan and Sean. Does Suzuka tend to treat you well?
Oh, I don't know whether it treats me well, but I do like the track, and it's meant to be a wet race next week, so I usually do pretty well in the rain, but so I am sort of looking forward to that. Hopefully I can have a good result there.
Indeed. Well, regardless, still P3 and still quite close in the battle for the championship with Jordan. So you have a lot to be happy about today, Mr. Walker. Anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, just everyone who helps run the league, race control, you guys for the broadcast. Like, you do an amazing job every week. Jordan and Sean, yeah, like, congratulations to them. They were too quick tonight. All the other competitors, you know, it's a pretty tight field, and it's you know, good close racing. My team, Accelerate Sim Racing, all the guys there, you know, massive help through the week, and that sort of trying to get up to pace. And our sponsors, Abbey Timber, Primal Wheels, Box and Lock Narang, and Modern Deck.
Fantastic job today, Wayne. See you next week.
Yep, thank you.
And that's going to be our podium done and dusted, Jake. Kenneth Latter was down there in the green room, but it looks like he's decided to call it a night from here. So that's all for this portion of the show.
I think he realised he was going to have a chat with me, and I think he got scared. Wayne Walker right now is currently ahead, but not by much. That gap is 7 championship points, and that is nothing in a series like this, especially when they've got those final rounds of the championship, 8, 9, and 10 to go, and the threat of rain on the horizon that goes on through. Now, these live points, they don't include Zoom or 0x bonuses or any penalty points that have been applied. So keep that in mind as far as the championship goes, that there are still points to be added on after this, and so you can argue that, say, Wayne Walker gets an extra point out there on the marks. You look around, Sean McNamara already up now to 13th in the championship, really making progress now, Reese, as he starts jumping up and trying to make his championship aspirations known. Scott Gamble will now be in the same boat as him with a non-start today. Darren Lobb also joins that group.
Yeah, super close here outside of the top 10, outside the top 20. Ray Smith with that lap down finish, unfortunately running out of fuel on the way to the line, now has only 2 points advantage over Lorne Mackay and Christian Smart. Christian getting a good amount of points today with his titanic run up through the field. Reminder, we have decided Christian Smart is our driver of the day for today. Fantastic job from him. And rounding out your top 40 there, Logan Barnett. Could have been a better run for him today were it not for his earlier issues.
Yep, so you're starting to see where the points are, and you get to down here, and you see the likes of Brian Minogue on a goose egg, and Blake Delaney and Paul Warwick there on -5 for penalty points that have been brought in from today. We are going to, of course, talk about that. Thunder Slightly Stolen there, your quality used M1 cars, their car of the day. It is Christian Smart who picks it up, and I think there's no doubt, Reese, that all three of us here, both me, you, and Dan Yeaman, who's on production, looked at it and said this is a slam dunk driver of the day on a day where drivers struggle to gain double-digit positions from the back up forward. Christian Smart, who is a driver who's normally there towards the rear, had himself an all-out day, gain of 16.
Yes, obviously taking advantage of problems for drivers ahead. Sebring is certainly a track that loves to claim cars. Christian Smart managed to keep it clean practically the whole way through, and despite losing a tiny bit of pace at the end, was pressuring Dan Hall all the way to the end. If things were a tiny bit different, could have been a top 10, but he got close enough to really show us what he could do.
Yeah, and so that was wonderfully done by Christian Smart, and we'll be looking to take that momentum over to your next round of the championship, which will be Suzuka in 7 days' time. The 19th of February is where you need to tune in for that, and this Suzuka International Racing course is one that has a little bit of everything to test driver mentality. It's one of the all-time great circuits in the world, Reese.
Yeah, indeed. It's particularly famous as a Formula One circuit, but in these cars, Suzuka is sometimes a bit of a hard slog. You spend so much time turning the car, plenty of medium speed corners where you really got to balance the car. It's a combination of driver's circuit and technical circuit, and the threat of rain is ever looming. I think we're going to be seeing some interesting racing there.
We certainly will. You can only catch it with us here on SimSpeed TV. So if you haven't done so already, do all the great YouTube and Facebook things. Like, share, subscribe, share, and do everything that you can to bring more great, amazing racing to everyone who watches some of the best. Your RaceKraft Simulations V8 Vets Championship for Season 26 is brought with you, of course, in partnership with RaceKraft Simulations, as well as Logitech G, Nova Sim Sports, Parramatta Suzu, Player One Sim Gear, LGC Images, M1 Used Cars, and by SimSpeed. From the entire team here today of Reese Gardner, Daniel Yeaman, my name is Jake Sperry. There are some things that change. There are some things that do remain the same. It is still the same two drivers who are fighting for victory, as we have seen in seasons past. The battle of Ross and McNamara. But championship-wise, there's still Wayne Walker to think about. Still able to limit the damage done here today at Sebring. Still in that championship lead when staring down the barrel of 3 rounds to go. But Jordan Ross doesn't give up titles very easily. He will now try and test Wayne Walker to see if he is championship material. And the only way that he can test and be challenged is to survive the next 3 rounds of this championship and come out on top. Wayne's world might just have a little judder to it, but can he be able to survive in the next round of Suzuka? We'll see you in 7 days for more racing action from the V8 Vets.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.